You just saw us. It's like magic. And now TK has been summoned
Yes.
from another pocket of Gen Con Online. Lots of magic. And here they are. Um, so we're doing Zweihander. That's what we left off on. So we're doing Zweihander. Yeah, we're doing Zweihander. We're running this really cool one shot. It's a psychological horror story game. So just kind of heads up for those who are watching. It is a mature game, 18 plus. Some of the content you're gonna learn about. There's gonna be some confusion, some isolation, and horror. Obviously, people who are on stream around me here, how we've spoken about using a safety tool. So if we approach like a theme or topic that people aren't comfortable with, just boop like that. No questions asked. I'll shift. As for chat, we're not really watching for content, so I'm just be forewarned. It's not going to be like a dark game, but it is going to be psychological horror. So think of movies like The Thing or The Descent. Take some cues from that. So I think I've said enough. I want to talk. I want to let's introduce everybody who's playing today. Maybe we can start first with the person we summoned from the Nether region, TK. Hi, TK.
Hello, it's me, TK. They sent me a PM on Pinterest and told me that I have to come back to work, and here I am. It's me.
So, can you tell us about the character you're going to be playing tonight in the chateau? No.
Yes, I will. Yes, I will. I'm
Please?
sorry. I am playing Salome Preston, who is a barber surgeon. Not too much going on with them. Deep complexion, black hair, brown eyes, pretty much like me. I just built myself. I'm sorry. It's like I built myself. Salome is an older type of character and is very pleased to be here only because here is not where they previously were. That's all we're talking about.
Okay, that's good. Well, I think that with the story we're going to tell tonight, we're going to kind of maybe pull a little bit of that thread and kind of explore some of that. So let's move next to Charlie, who's over here. Yeah, hi, Charlie.
Hello, I'm
Who
here.
tell us who you're going to play tonight in the
Ooh,
chateau?
that is a good question. Let me open my sheet. I am going to be playing Starling LaRue, who is a highwayman. She has 3 distinguishing marks. I'm going to read all the interesting parts of the sheet because these are some of the things that I love about Zweihander. Her distinguishing marks are that she is branded with a cattle iron. I'm not saying I borrowed a cow, but I might have borrowed a cow. 2 different colored eyes. One is brown and the other's gray. And a strong jaw, which I can just mimic by doing this. This is my strong jaw.
Or the
I'm going to throw out that my order alignment is romanticism. And my chaos alignment is lechery.
Oh.
Gird your loins. And my dooming. Should I say my dooming? Should I give that to myself?
I think maybe we'll let it come out in the story maybe in a story appropriate moment if it happens.
But yeah, I have a dooming, which means I have a terrible destiny, as do all grim and perilous adventurers in the Zweihander universe.
That's right. Every character,
to you, Dan.
Every character in Zweihander is prognosticated at the age of 11, a manner of which they will meet their doom. And every character is created with that. It becomes kind of like a nice little role-playing tool to refer to as you play the game. Let's move next to Matt Jowett, who is at my 3 o'clock.
Like the Brady Bunch.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm like, where is everybody?
Hello, everyone. I am Matt, and I am playing Lawrence Jameson, a rake. He's fallen from grace. He's on hard times, and he's trying to climb his way back up to being rich once again, and all he cares about is wealth. He is of slender build. He has 3 distinguishing marks as well: a rash of pimples across his face, a vacant expression, and a hooked nose.
What tell us, are you the traitor, Lawrence?
Maybe. We'll have to just wait and see, won't we?
Can't just ask people if they're traitors.
I'm trying to tease it out. Somebody's going to slip. I'm not saying there's a traitor, but there may be a traitor. It's just the way these things go sometimes. So maybe we can move next to Susanna.
Hi, I am Susie, and I will be playing Lady Isabelle Juliette Marie de Liancourt. She is a fabulously fancy bravo from a cultured upbringing. It's not her fault. She's just better than the rest of you. She is a half halfling, half elf. And she has sort of a deep tan skin, she's got lovely, long, flowing, dark locks. Her clothing is just outrageous. And she's just here to have a good time. She has a beautiful peacock feather hat. Yeah, definitely not a traitor.
Yeah, the hat's the dead giveaway. Not the traitor. Not with the way that you're dressed. Too many creases, too much fanciness. That's the... So let's move finally to the traitor, James. Hey, James.
Hey, it's me, not the traitor. And I am playing Barthelm Lichtenfield. Barthelm is an old man, but he's impeccably dressed and walks with a very upright back. And he's got this golden lock of hair still among his gray hairs, and
The traitorish lock.
has a widow's peak. And he
like a
you know,
traitor.
his profession is he owns a successful tavern
Spy guild.
that he inherited from his parents. He's very cultured. He's just your regular everyday tavern owner who's also in a cult.
Yeah, not a big deal. Not a traitor. Not the
Do
occultist.
you serve the beer of betrayal?
We do, but only in bottles. We don't have it on tap. So, you know,
Yeah, that's
We'll have to see.
about
So
right.
when you draw the curtains closed at night, is that when you do your cultish worship, or is it more like something that you have like a back room there where there are other supplicants perhaps who are among your flock?
oh yes, I mean, of course we have other supplicants. I learned it from my parents who were
By
in the
watching
cult.
them?
Yeah,
They're
like
watching you.
you know, I inherited this restaurant. I inherited the cult, which is very odd because it is a cult, of course, to the Abyssal Prince of Change. And I'm sort of in this routine of doing exactly what my parents have done. I'm kind of hoping that before the end of my life, maybe tonight, I will break out of the routine that I have been in to truly appease you know, the Abyssal Prince of Change, who is all about, of course, the metamorphosis and evolution of things. So, you know,
This
it's
sounds
fun.
like a chick tract. Like,
There's
ooh.
a chick tract about Barthelm and his parents and the fall of Babylon, and well illustrated, but a terrible story. That's the
gosh.
chick tract
A
approach, right?
blessing. Also, I know we said we weren't going to read chat, but somebody in chat said betray ale, and I just want that immortalized on the VOD for this.
Betray
Oh,
ale.
thanks.
Somebody clip it. Make it
In
happen.
perpetuity.
So Barthelm is definitely not the traitor, I think is what we're saying here. And for those who may have been
Said
following
that.
this on Twitter, we've been I remember leaking out some secrets of the game to arm everybody around the virtual table with some sneaky hint information that they can utilize when they feel it's appropriate. So one last thing, you will probably notice there is no dice overlay. It's unfortunate we can't do Gen Con gaming in person, so we're using good old real dice, like real dice and paper and characters, and it's crazy.
I should get
It's
my
amazing.
dice.
Yeah.
I guess I'll follow you on Twitter too.
We can roll for you if you like, but I'm gonna roll
No,
really
it's-
poorly. I'm just
No,
saying.
I'm gonna roll my birthday dice that I got
Aw.
myself. Did you see them? Did I show them to you?
No, let's see it.
That's what this show is now. It's my birthday dice I got for myself that y'all can't see it hardly, but they have wisdom teeth in them.
Oh, like your wisdom teeth? Or
Oh no,
someone's
not
wisdom
mine,
teeth?
somebody
Okay.
else's.
Oh,
Wait.
of course. Yeah, that's
Did you get those from Jordan?
Yeah, no kidding,
no,
right?
no, I found and bought them on my own. Anyway,
Do you know
awesome.
whose wisdom teeth are in there?
Yeah.
Or is
yes,
it
but
just-
it's unimportant.
I think somebody with
Alright.
wisdom teeth dice may be a traitor. I'm just saying. Between
I
cultists.
don't know. They seem pretty trustworthy to me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
if I had hidden that, I could be a traitor.
That's true.
Mhm,
That's
The
mhm.
true.
lie of omission.
That's right. That's right.
I think Daniel is the traitor. I just want to throw that out there as
A little
a
bit
possibility.
shifty.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think-
yeah.
You are
Yeah.
Nailed it.
so like quick to call people traitor. It's actually making me a little uncomfortable.
I am a fair and impartial storyteller, judge, whatever you want to call me. I'll be as impartial as possible. I'm just here to make sure everybody has a good time. And maybe a traitor will be revealed. Maybe we won't. We don't know. We'll find out.
No one's
Um,
wisdom teeth chat. Don't worry about it.
Well, let's dive into the story. Let's jump in. The story actually begins through a flashback, and this is a little bit of an unusual kind of setup, but it's like we know it's January right now. It's the 1st of January. It's the turn of the year. It's right after Yuletide, but you all are in this snow-bound vale, and you're kind of ruminating along the way. You're kind of on muleback or donkey back rather, kind of trudging through this kind of like almost like 2 to 3 foot deep snow. Um, that has been coming down for probably a couple days. And you're on the road and you're kind of remembering like why you're here. So kind of, ooh, like we had like the effects that would show like, so in the dead of winter, which was literally like less than, 3 days ago, you were called before a man named Baron Dufresne. You were led through a hall of soldiers they were preparing basically for war in the north. In fact, they're ready to deploy to a place called the Barrow March. All of you serve the Baron in some capacity or another. It's up for you to decide what capacity that is as we kind of tell the story. But whether your loyalties are direct to him or indirect, or if you're out for just for money in the case of Lawrence, or if you're a secret cultist and traitor like Bart Helm, it's up to you. But you were called before the Baron, and he spoke to you about this castle keep called Chateau Kilden, or what's simply known colloquially as the Chateau. And he goes on to kind of say, as he's preparing to bring all his lords forth for this war in the Barrow March, he says that a renegade lord, a man named Chauncey Redding, took up residence in the keep about 7 years ago. And of course, he's called all of his lords to report to the war front, including Lord Chauncey. So the Baron basically ordered Lord Chauncey to vacate the chateau, but was met in return with a poorly worded letter that basically told the Baron to go plow himself. So Lord Chauncey was not going to come back and fight for the Baron. It was very, very clear. So the Baron basically said, okay, we're going to drag Lord Chauncey back here before a military tribunal and punish him for discipline. So he basically hands you a military warrant, like a warrant for his arrest. And to kind of paint a bigger portrait of what this means, literally everybody from this place and where he's at in this village called Chandering is like reporting for war. So there's nobody left. You all, whether you were scraped out of the tavern in the case of Bartelm, or whatever situation that brought you here, you're kind of the last ditch effort. And he hands you, and we'll say that he probably hands the military writ, I imagine, to Isabel. And he goes on to say that you know I want you to go to Chateau Kilden, and I want you to issue this military warrant to Chauncey's right hand man, a man named Ulysses Coventry. He will execute the arrest. Though Lord Chauncey is clearly corrupt and is like off his rocker, Ulysses is loyal and really possesses. He poses no threat to any of you. He's like, just deliver the writ, get in, help Ulysses execute the military, the arrest, and then bring him back, and you'll be rewarded in some way. Which, of course, for the fact that barons are offering you whatever it may be, your mind can only imagine and race what that could what that could be. I mean, obviously he's of a much higher social class, so you didn't really perhaps take the moment to ask what that was. But the promise of a baron is important. So he kind of dismisses his court, and as this happens, it's just you and him and this man named Reese. And his guard kind of is lowered, like he kind of like the kind of like upright standing, and he kind of removes his crown, and he kind of talks to you frankly. Well, I mean, there's no other prying ears around, and he says, "Look, ignore the warrant." And as he says this, you kind of look around the interior of this courtroom. There's no one there save for you and this man Reese. And he says, once Chauncey is captured, or once you get there, you need to terminate Lord Chauncey's command of Chateau Kilden on the road back to Chandring. And if Ulysses stands in your way, ensure he doesn't make it back alive. And with that, he kind of departs, and he leaves you he leaves you with Reese, this man named Reese Harden. So our story kind of turns back to this snowbound vale in the middle of winter, the dead of winter in January, with the great weight of this responsibility on your shoulders. You find yourselves in this place called the Narrow Pass. Narrow so because it has these tall plinths of stone that stick up like broken teeth amid the snow. You would guess it's probably midday, but the sky is kind of like, it's kind of yellow soaked like urine. It's hard to really make out where the sun may be. And the snow is starting to come down again, so the visibility is really low. It's really hard to kind of make out where you're at. And you're on donkey back going through this very narrow vale with Reese, with this man who you have been charged to go and terminate the Lord's command. Now, whether you are qualified for that or not is perhaps not the Baron's concern, but he was dead serious when he said this, and he made sure nobody else was around to hear this. Like, he was clearly like putting on airs because he has responsibilities. And maybe this has fallen to you, because if you fail, it doesn't look bad on him. It looks bad on you and your families, and whatever connection you may have back to the barony. So we turn to Isabel, and you're holding this scroll case in hand, and you've got the writ in there, and she turns toward everybody else in the middle of winter. Like, what's going through Isabel's mind at this moment?
Well, Isabel, being quite the laissez-faire lady that she is, she's kind of regarding this very serious job with an air of humor to it. And she kind of turns to them all and says, well, I hope you're all quite ready to die horrifically. I don't imagine this will be quite easy.
Die? Nobody said anything about dying. We're here to be rich. Get riches, that's it.
Darling, if this is about getting rich, you would have sent more soldiers rather than us.
So, why are you here if you think we're all gonna die? And as Barthelm is saying this, he is getting off of his donkey and leading his donkey by the reins, and not riding the donkey.
Well, after the third time that he found me in bed with his wife, he said I better do this job, otherwise I'd be a dead woman. So I thought, well, might as well.
Oh, I see.
Plus, rewards, riches, fame, all of that nonsense I don't care about.
So it's more so a matter of you kind of getting out from underneath potential scrutiny within the court in the case of Isabel. Now, Lawrence, you had previously mentioned that kind of your personal motivation here was to get rich or die trying.
Climb my way back to the top.
That's right. Chaos is not a pit, it's a ladder. Just climb on up. Like, what is your relationship with Salome? Like, how did the two of you know one another? And the same for you, Salome. Like, how do you know Lawrence? Like, what's that connection between the two of you?
Salome, what's your profession again?
I am a barber surgeon.
Oh. You've got some dirt on me and my family before I fell from grace. So
I've got
I
a surprising amount of dirt on a lot of people.
yeah, pretty common for doctors, you know. Some things I'd rather not have come out.
Yes, they are very, let's say, selective about the people that they allow to be doctors. So when you are a barber surgeon, you have a larger range of patients: criminals, thugs, bandits, duelists.
So do you have, is it possible then, Salome, that have you leveraged this information perhaps in the past for cash? Or is it something that, do you maintain like a strict bedside manner? You keep the stories safe? How would your character feel about those things?
Have I leveraged it for cash? Never
Yeah.
for cash,
For favors, perhaps?
perhaps.
Okay. So is it possible then that you have something maybe on Starling in the party that maybe she doesn't know about?
I've heard a thing of two from bandits that come upon the wrong side of her.
Starling, you've clearly led an interesting life, larger than life, perhaps even one could say. You,
I do say.
yeah,
Often.
you wear in this case, do you make means to hide the brand on your face at all, or do you leave it? Is it kind of like a source of power for you, perhaps?
Why would I hide my brand? When you get
Love it.
robbed, you should know who you are robbed by so that you can tell other people. The name Starling LaRue, Queen of the Road, should be spread far and wide. Then when I come knocking at the tavern, I can trade a story for my drink and I don't have to worry about parting with coin. Because who likes to keep track of coin, especially in a game like this?
Yeah. In
I do.
fact, yeah. Lawrence.
There's always one.
Do you owe any money to Barthelm? I mean, after all, he and his family own a very well-established tavern. Well, tavern's probably an understatement. It's probably more like a watering hole or a wine sink at best. Do you have like a debt that you carry there, or a tab? Like,
How
what's your
dare you
relationship?
imply I have a debt to anyone?
I've paid my debt.
What books have you seen, sir? Who told you?
So Barthelm, like, knowing kind of a bit about the relationships we've kind of begun to establish as we kind of begin to spin our conspiracy web, because we don't know who the traitor is.
You keep bringing up a traitor. Nobody else brought one up.
who in the group, in this motley crew, this cadre of cads and ne'er-do-wells, like, who in the group are you closest to, and who is the person that you do not like?
Oh, that is a great question. So I think that I am probably actually closest to I'm gonna say Salome, because they likely, if they're willing to serve anyone, sometimes things go wrong in a sacrificial ritual. You cut your hand open. You got to go to your local barber surgeon, right? So I'm
true.
guessing some more than a few cult secrets are probably held.
I have performed very creative autopsies for them.
Mm. I think, Salome, what we can do, in fact, is we're going to put something fresh and new on your character sheet.
Ooh,
This
fresh
is
and new.
This is a book called The Corpus. It is a work of heresy that has been given to you by Barthelm's cult. Imagine what the wood prints of Albrecht Dürer look like, of the inside of the body. Like, that's considered heretical. So you have the corpus, and when you use the corpus to perform any sort of medical procedures, you can add a passive plus 10% bonus to your tests. So Barthelm, so obviously you and Salome have a relationship, like, whether it be convenience or money or friendship, whatever it may be. It's up for the two of you to decide. Who among this crew do you just like grate against? Like, who's the person that you can't, like, there's nothing about them that you like?
I'm also a man of cultured upbringing. And I think that is why Isabel and I do not get along. We probably have run in some of the same circles, but her family not in the cult, and I think that has probably created some. Some friction between us. We're the family who got rich because we sacrificed a lot to a dark god,
Yeah.
to this abyssal prince of change, which some see as a shortcut, others would say is very practical and exists, and that's why there are loopholes for us to take advantage of. And it's just silly if you don't. So yeah, I would say that probably Isabel and I would say perhaps Susie, if it's okay with you, for maybe years. We have had this sort of high school style.
Mhm.
We just don't like each other.
It's
relationship.
100% like giving each other shitty looks in the corridor and backhanded compliments and like, your coat is fine. Like that kind of just, like it would look semi-pleasant on the outside, but there's just seething.
Oh, green again.
Yeah. I actually named the Betray Ale after, like, as an incident about her family stealing our ale recipes.
Oh, that's perfect. That's wonderful. So it's not like an outwardly antagonistic, like it's coming to knives. It's more verbal barbs and passive aggressive commentary in the streets of Chandering. Yet you find yourselves here somehow together, and for some reason or another, the Baron chose Isabel to lead this group. Like, she is the one.
Lead. That's,
Yeah, lead. So
that's fine.
the question. So now that we've kind of established some foundational relationships between your characters, we need to kind of basically lay out like who is kind of leading the expedition to the chateau. And it probably shouldn't be Isabel. It should be somebody else, I think, in the group. Who would like to lead the expedition?
No, thank you. I'm just here to make sure none of you die.
I'm lagging behind, hoping you drop something along the trail, so it won't be me.
I think as a man of the seventh sense, as my family has been so gifted, I would like to, of course, follow my nose to the chateau here, because I am very good at smell. And I mean, no one is more familiar with the roads except perhaps the actual highwayman who is here with us. So.
Yeah.
At which point I will allow our dearest Barthelm to wander in the dark following one's nose, whilst I watch the road and figure out the safe path to the castle. Things to do. I'm sorry, the chateau.
The chateau. It is a fancy place. So what I would like for Starling to do, would you roll me a routine navigation test? We're going to see how your travel to the chateau, through the Vale specifically, goes. We're going to determine the tempo of the wilderness travel part of this game.
Funnily enough, navigation is not something I'm trained in, but I'm sure it'll be fine.
So it's a flip to fail in that case. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. So that is just a straight up fail with a 71 on the dice.
So Charlie has gracefully agreed to track our fortune pool. And for those who are listening, there are for the number of players plus the game master, there's that many fortune points in our pool. At any point in time, 6. You can re-roll a die by using a fortune point, and it becomes my misfortune point I can use against you. Would you like to re-roll using a fortune point, or are you just going to let this just kind of
I
happen?
think I'm distracted by the fact that Barthelm is clearly following his nose off a cliff, and I hurry in the wrong direction, turn around, and oh dear, the forest all looks the same. It's wintry and French and dark and menacing.
All right. So that's good. That's all I need to know for now. So Salome, obviously being someone from Chandering, and being somebody of respect and repute, at least in the eyes of the Baron, he would have entrusted you to see to the supplies. I mean, if you can
course.
see to medical needs and see to the poultices and the other things that you would maintain and carry, he probably charged you with carrying all of the gear, the foodstuffs, things like
Of
that.
course, it's reasonable to assume that a barber is the same as a butler.
So imagine that Salome's donkey would normally be laden with all of the foodstuffs. However, Salome has saddled Lawrence with that responsibility.
Oh, of
Uh,
course.
So Lawrence, being somebody who's going to be essentially kind of ensuring that there's enough foodstuffs along the way and keeping the wood dry and
Nothing would go missing either.
never.
No.
You would never lift something. You would never intend to harm anybody else as if your survival depended on them
No,
and
never.
not just you.
I'm offended that you'd even think so.
I would like for you to make a routine survival test. And this, much like the test before, will determine how this travel portion of the story goes.
The audience at home, we will never be making it to the chateau.
It's like waiting
Fail.
for Godot.
67.
Fail. Okay. All right. Well,
And I am not using a fortune point.
okay. So
Damn
no
you.
fortune. Well, I appreciate that. I do want some misfortune at some point. We'll see what happens. So with this pace you begin to keep, you begin to worry a bit about reaching the chateau before nightfall. The sun is drawing close to the horizon. You feel you're pretty much through most of the vale, the kind of broken rocks along the side of the road that almost demarcate this narrow path through the mountains, where you can't even begin to see the snow-capped peaks because of the haze of winter. You light your lantern at some point, maybe 4:30ish in the afternoon, you would guess, judging by Isabel's pocket watch. And it's at this point, as you kind of come along this switchback that's perilously narrow, to where you have to dismount from your donkeys, in fact, to get through it safely. It won't require any skill tests because I'm assuming that you're not like whoop, 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 Three Stooging it way down the hill. We'll assume everybody's being responsible and not trying to get themselves killed.
Bold of you.
I'm just assuming. So as you come across this switchback, you see this pink slush. And at first it kind of looks like somebody took like a jug of wine and broke it in the middle of the snow. And you could see it's kind of forming these kind of loose spots. And in the, you kind of, as you walk up, like you realize that the pink slush is actually, it's blood. And there's a not just like specks, we're talking like a very, very generous amount of blood. Like some large animal had drug its way through the snow, wounded, and left this trail coming around the backside of these rocks. What do you do?
Isabel just goes, "Oh, that's careless. Someone spilled all their blood."
If Isabel is going to say that, I will say, well, Isabel, obviously, you can see here that this person could still be alive, and perhaps they need our help. And I will turn to Lawrence and say, and perhaps they have a reward.
They'll pay for our help.
Oh, classic Lichtenfield, always in the way of humor. Yes, of course. Shall we investigate?
Yes, you go first.
Yes. I don't stand in the way of jokes that are good.
Oh, you damned
After
little
you.
cowards. And she pulls her rapier
This
from
seems-
her waist.
This seems ill-advised. If they haven't bled out, they'll surely die of exposure already.
If they're dead, they may have supplies on them.
That's a fair assessment.
Exactly.
If they're dead, whatever made them so may also make us so. And don't we have rather important business? I'm with Salome, clearly, who knows their business and trade.
Starling, darling, I've never met a foe that I couldn't defeat.
I would like to look around and see if there are any sorts of tracks or if this person dragged themselves alone.
Certainly. So you won't need to make a survival test to see where the tracks are because it's pretty evident what's happened. Despite the fact that it's begun to snow again, this must have happened recently.
Mhm.
But as you plunge your hand into the snow, the slush, the blood is not warm. But go ahead and I would like for you instead to roll a heal test. And this will be a trivial test. So just add plus 30 to your chance to succeed.
Okay, I want to propose this hypothetical to you. Let's pretend I have never played this game.
I love it. Okay, so
I just pulled out a bunch of dice and it was like, this is probably, I Googled what the dice system for Zweihander was. I was like, I know I need D10s and D6s and percentiles.
So what you will do is you'll look first at your intelligence score. So what's your intelligence score?
50. Wait, no. Is that the big number? Because
Yeah,
that's
the
7.
big number.
A 7.
Sorry, my apologies. The percentile number before that.
50.
50. Okay. Do you have the heal skill beside intelligence? Do you have a bubble marked?
Yes, I
Okay.
have 1.
So one bubble is plus 10%. So basically that
Okay.
means you have a 60% chance to succeed just
Okay.
under normal duress, but because
Okay.
it's trivial, your chance to succeed is actually 90%. You need to roll a 90% or lower
Oh, okay.
the skill test.
Nice. Okay, I got. What's a 00?
That is a critical failure.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah. So
And then I got a 9, so I got a 9.
Okay. You didn't roll like 0, 0, 0. You
No.
rolled
9.
Okay.
I rolled 0 on the percentile and then a 9 on the D10.
So for those who have never played Zweihander before, if you roll below your score, you succeed. In this case, you succeeded because you rolled 9%. But if you rolled 2 dice that matched and it was above your chance to succeed or 100, it's a critical failure. Like something perilously terrible happens.
Okay.
And that's not always just to you. It could be somebody else around you. So
so just making sure I have this correct. I rolled 0 on my percentile and then I rolled a 9 on my D10. So that is 9%. So that's good.
That's good.
Or
Yeah, lower is better.
Oh, okay. So I want to get under 10% if my chance is 90.
So if you have a 90% chance to succeed, if you roll an 89 or below, you succeed. But if you roll,
I appreciate you.
If you roll above that, you fail.
Cool.
But you made it, so that's good. So Salome kind of leans down on the snow and pulls it up, and clearly it's not warm, so this blood's not been here long. And you kind of come round this narrow switchback. Do you want to take your donkey with you, or do you want to just leave the donkey here?
If we're looking for this person anyway, I don't exactly want to drag the horses with us. I don't want to leave a chance for, even though the snow is falling, I don't want a chance that we'll be totally caught unawares where people are following us. At the same time, I really don't want to walk back and there's no horse, so I will take the bull.
Okay. You round the switchback and you lose sight of the others for just a mere moment, and you kind of feel like you're almost gut punched for a moment as you take a couple of steps back, and you realize around the backside of this tall plinth of rock,
just gonna
there's this horse. It must be a storm horse based on its size. It's a large destrier.
Okay.
And its stomach's been eviscerated, like it's been
full.
Torn apart by wild animals.
Well, that's certainly not going to come when I call.
It's not in this case. It's the horse is actually still with saddle, bit, and bridle.
Okay.
In fact, there is a sheathed sword on the side of the horse. Unfortunately, you don't have enough light to see by. Who has the light in the group? Who has a lantern or a torch, perhaps even?
I have.
Not me. I was just checking. I was like,
I can create 3 little beads of light with my Will-o'-the-Wisp spell.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead. Which person?
Are we all cool with magic here? Are we is this group Do
This
you
feels like something you won't know unless you do it.
Yeah, okay.
Traitor.
All right. Sure.
Traitor.
Sure. All right. Yeah. Let me I'll just cast a very harmless spell, Will o' the Wisp. And create these 3 sort of beads of light.
Okay. So when you cast magic in Zweihander, you have a chance to succeed. So I would say because you're not under any manner of duress, it's cold,
Mhm.
it's not grayed out, but your chance is probably going to be an easy incantation test. So just take your willpower value plus any bubbles you have in incantation, and then add 20%, and that becomes your total chance for success.
Right.
If you roll that or below, you succeed.
So that is an 80. And there's nothing to sacrifice yet. So let's see. That is a 53. So
Okay.
success.
So from where you're at, Salome, you hear this snap sound, like right in your ear. And then suddenly these 3 small bobbing lights, almost like lightning bugs, begin to burn this incandescent green. And they almost seem to ooze this incandescence in their wake as they buzz around, as Barthelm kind of walks forward, joining you at your side, and it illuminates this scene where it's not just a horse, but several horses have been dragged rather, have been eviscerated and are in all manner of disarray. Their bellies have been torn open, their throats torn apart. There must be 5 horses collected here. And not only that, now that you can see in the light, the horses are just peppered with black feathered arrows.
Whoa.
I think
Barthelm
it's, yeah, I think it's
is
safe
going to
to.
retch.
Ooh, that's. I have smelling salts. I'll just go ahead and. I would like to pass Barthelma yield tic tac.
Yield tic tac. It's a throat lozenge. It's good for you.
It's a delight.
Usually we do these one at a time in the cult, not all together like this. Ooh.
I think it's safe to assume that the horses did not drag themselves. They're not particularly known for finger dexterity.
Starling, you've probably heard Barthelm in the wee hours of the morning, deep in his cups, retching in the water closet. And that's the sound that you hear kind of around the bend as you look toward Isabel and Lawrence. Something is clearly amiss up there.
Mhm.
Clearly, that is not the way to go.
No, but I do enjoy hearing him lose his lunch.
What have you found up there?
What's
Do
up
we
there?
know anything about this kind of arrow? Like who uses short black feathered arrows?
That's a great question. I would like for you to make a routine folklore test.
Haha, yikes.
Okay,
look.
so routine, that means plus 10.
And anyone may make this test who is within view of these horses.
Right.
So both you and Salome may make a routine folklore test.
I'm trying to figure out where folklore is.
It's
Okay,
so
it's in my intelligence. Yay. Oh, and I have a little
bubble.
bubble in it.
Sweet.
Nice. So I'm going to roll these. Tell me what's good. Under what number?
So you'll take your intelligence percentile value. So 50, I believe it was before.
I got an 11.
That's
Very
not
good.
only just a success, because the dice matched, it's also a critical success.
I did it. Look at me.
And I
I'm
just got a
Zweihandering.
normal success.
So from your perspective, Barthelm, like you're pretty sure that these arrows are they're feathered using ravens or crows, whatever it may be, and that would be the mark of a vicious group of man-eaters called the Picts, like Picts. But to you, Salome, you know them by their tribal name, which is the Danoin Kokra, which translates into the painted folk.
Oh, yes. Painted folk. Well, these certainly weren't painted folk that were riding them, so that means they likely use our currency. I don't want to go through the saddlebags.
All right, here we go.
I poke my head around the corner.
You all kind of
Did someone say currency?
Money?
Money?
Appear just behind you out of nowhere.
So not only do you find that the saddlebags have been unmolested, and you find enough coin in there probably to drink your way easily through a week, Lawrence, and not be gut foundered. But you all also find, in the case of Starling, you find that
Okay.
the weapons are still on the horses, and the riders are not there at all. There's no evidence that they were slaughtered here.
Mhm.
There is no evidence of blood on the horse blankets or the saddles. It's very, very strange. In it kind of, all of you kind of like stop for a moment, kind of
Okay.
pondering how this could have happened. And that's when
No.
the lamp's oil sloshes around a little bit and begins to flicker and gutter in the darkness that's encroaching upon you. And I need you all to attempt a standard resolve test.
I would prefer not to.
Tom, I thought you told me this was the good stuff.
This is
Shaking the lantern.
So for resolve, you'll look at your willpower.
okay. So
And if you have a-
45. Oh, I have no bubbles.
So you'll need a 45, or in your case, you need a 45 or below.
Oh, I'm so
For Salome.
scared.
I got a 27, which is a success.
I got. Oh no! I got a 74.
Oof. Raise your hand if you failed this test. Yeah. I get to roll dice for once. Yay.
Why
so
didn't I lie to you?
Hang on. Is Isabel succeeded?
Yes, she did.
I will be using a fortune to re-roll them.
My
Ridiculous.
first misfortune finally. Yes.
Good news, everyone. I still failed.
That's what you get.
Yeah.
Can't believe I failed alongside a traitor.
So everyone who failed this skill test, you feel your blood quicken.
Oh.
You feel your heart begin to pound just slightly. You feel maybe a little bit of cold sweat on your brow as you are under a slight amount of stress, and you all suffer 8 peril. So
My blood feels so quick.
to explain how peril works, it is much like how Zweihander doesn't use hit points. It uses thresholds.
Hmm.
So Salome, what is your peril threshold? The first number.
6?
6.
No, wait. 3 plus WB. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So the big number 6.
Yeah. Okay, so
Okay,
if you suffer peril in
Uh-huh.
excess of that value, you will move down 1 step on the peril condition track, which I believe makes you imperiled currently, because you don't track hit points, you don't track peril loss, you track it on a tracker. It moves up and down. Peril is essentially your ability to withstand mental stress and physical fatigue. Everything is not like being stabbed, shot, burned, falling off the side of a very narrow switchback on donkey. Peril is everything but damage. So to reflect this in a role playing sense, it's
Okay.
literally is a reflection of your blood quickening,
Okay.
getting nervous.
So how much peril did we suffer?
7,
8.
8.
First of
Yeah.
all, rude.
So
I
yeah,
don't appreciate that. So
so
I
in-
am imperiled now.
Yeah. So now here's the thing: if it would have exceeded your next threshold, which is another number after that, you would have moved
Yeah.
2 steps instead.
Okay. So 12 if it exceeds 12.
That's right. You would have moved 2 steps, but you only move 1 in this case.
First of all, I don't appreciate this. Second of all, this is exactly why Black people don't go in the woods. This is the reason.
Look, TK, I tried, right? I am the white woman in the horror movie. I started going, and you
I don't know why I don't know why I went ahead of you. Why did I do that?
You know, TK, you know me.
I don't know. I was like, I don't know what it is. I have to protect her. I don't. The siren.
As this is all happening,
Hate
like
this and I'm mad.
Starling, you kind of see this unfold, and your eyes kind of are looking through the mist, the atmosphere, to figure out exactly where the hell are we even going? Where are we at? In your eyes, like across this long, deep cleft in the middle of the mountains, you see what looks like these buildings. It's kind of hard to make out based on the amount of snow and the atmosphere in the air. Like it looks like a series, like a village, like a small village. And then looming over the village, like this must be like a couple miles away, is this leering, gigantic stone gargoyle, or what is your eyes focus, it must be the chateau. This huge castle, like lurching on the edge of this cliff as if it was about to slip off. That must be the chateau. And it like some old stony sentry. It is overlooking this village, and there's no light at all coming from it whatsoever. But you do see this little pathway kind of going between the snow down this hill, down toward the village. And that's when you realize it's night. The lantern's light kind of flickers back up, kind of guttering for a moment, then kind of like casting this kind of hazy yellow light through the air as you pluck the last bit of resources you possibly can from the horses. Coins, cash, whatever you can imagine that would be carried by horse folk, including a military writ that, Isabel, as you hold it up next to yours like this, you're like, it's the same thing. And one was written 2 weeks ago. You were not told about any forwarding parties, nor were you told that they were seemingly killed on the road.
If you're quite finished with the takeaway pilfering, perhaps we could move on. The chateau awaits. Dramatic hand gesture across the lantern light so that there's a giant hand shadow across the
I love it.
It's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. Keep ransacking his body.
Okay, so we just did a resolve test, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so since I failed that, one of my drawbacks, or my drawback, is lily livered.
Ooh.
So whenever I fail to resist stress, fear, or terror, I temporarily reduce my initiative and movement by -3 to a minimum of 1.
Ooh,
And
so
it lasts
that
until I get a good night's rest.
so that will impact you if you step into any sort of fight.
Okay.
Which hasn't happened yet, but we don't know who the traitor is. Once again,
Okay.
we'll see what happens.
What? I hope it's me at this point. I mean,
but yeah. So as this happens, like the Isabel, the thing you also notice is actually there is a name at the top of the writ,
okay.
and it says Sir Matthew
94.
Thornton. The person who was clearly charged to execute this arrest was a man named Sir Matthew Thornton. When you look at your own, your name is at the top of it. So clearly you and Sir Matthew had the same grim task of dragging Lord Chauncey back in the middle of the road to make sure he didn't make it alive. But these are clearly not arrows from Lord Chauncey, as Barthelm and Salome explained. They're clearly arrows of local indigenous folk who are reputedly man-eaters. You've never had any brush up against them. None of you really have, but you know them by perhaps the stories people tell in the tavern, in Barthelm's tavern. But it's clear that they were assaulted by them, and they didn't take anything. They didn't take anything off these horses, but the people are gone.
So Isabel shows both warrants and says, I absolutely adore to say I told you so. But shall we get back on the road before we become dinner? And then she goes, boo, at Barthelm, who was clearly looking quite shaken.
Just clearing my throat, as it were. Yes, I think we should be on. When the road robber says that they do not want to pick over the corpses, that's a good sign that we should keep going. And I'll put my hand on Lawrence's shoulder to kind of guide him away. I have a feeling they'll still be here in the morning.
Fine.
Lawrence, darling, are you that hard up for money? Is it really that bad for you?
No, not at all. It's, it's tough times. You get it where you can. We're in a war.
That tough? Are you all right?
We should get going. Let's go. The chateau's right there.
If she offers you a loan, don't take it.
I can kind of imagine Lawrence as Isabel's kind of interrupting him, like pulling all the coins out, like they're probably falling between his fingers and tinkling and almost kind of creating this scintillating light on top of the snow intermixed with the pink slush. It's kind of this grim sort of affair, I suppose. But certainly, as Starling said, the chateau, and more importantly, the village is right there before you. One need only descend the veil to get toward it. Assuming that you kind of do your business here, do you want to press on, or do you want to malinger a bit longer, or what feels best for you all here?
To the chateau.
Yes, we might as well.
Onwards.
We might as well press on.
One moment before we do press on, Barthelm, did you just refer to me as a road robber?
Oh, here we go.
I am not a road robber. I am not a bandit. I am not a petty thief. I am not a mugger, a burglar. I am not an inciter of love and wait, yes, I am that one. But let me be clear. I am the queen of the road, the highway woman. I am Starling LaRue. And also, let's pick up a few of those arrows. I'm very curious about them. And her eyes go up to the chateau and she's trying to like think about the trajectory. If this has been a hail of arrows, but she doesn't understand why the horses have been dragged, and she's just thinking about this whole setup, and her eyes drift back towards that gargoyle form in the dark, and the lantern goes a little higher again, and then it kind of is fizzling, and she's like, oh no, bring that back down.
I am very concerned about the gruesome deaths that just happened so near a village. In addition, why tear them open and spill their blood everywhere if they're already dead from the arrows? Let's go on to the chateau.
Do we see lights in the village?
As you look down, as you begin descending this long slope, where there are no hoof prints or movement through the snow, it's still at least half a shin deep. Nobody's passed through here. You as you look down into the village, there's no smoke coming from the chimneys. There's not really any starlight either. But there's still like a haze of light coming from the stars beyond. So as you look toward the vault of night and you look down in the snow, you look down the village, you're trying as hard as you can as you descend down the hill to look for light, and you only see one that seems to pass between the gray masses or shadows of these buildings.
I would prefer not to.
You're not sure if it's moving or if it's just a trick of the light, or if it's just the time of the day, or if it's or the night in this case, or if it's the situation that happened before. But you can't really readily make out where the light's coming from, say for it's somewhere inside the village. It's all you know. But there's no chimney smoke coming out of any of these buildings. As you get to the foot of the Vale, you're now no more than a stone's throw away from the nearest building, this wattle and daub hut that looks snowed over. There's this huge snow embankment against the side of it, and whoever was living here didn't take the care to sweep any of the snow away, because there's no pathway here. If there is, it's buried beneath half a foot of snow. And you feel your teeth chatter a bit. It's clearly cold. Your fingertips are a little numb. You look through the village and you realize that the chateau is much farther away than you anticipated. And now there's no light in the sky. It's completely dark. It's pitch black, save for your guttering lantern and these three oozing ephemeral lights kind of trailing alongside Barthelm, almost like in this kind of buzzing like gnats. And they stay far away from him, but they tend to dart toward Isabel as he shares a glare with everyone. Shares a look, not a glare, just a look.
Yeah. You know, if the arrows were to come in, I would want to make sure they'd go for the person who's never been defeated before in a fight. So that's just, you taking your leadership role in protecting us.
you realize that it's so cold out that the mucus is freezing your nose. You can feel it, kind of like the perspiration on your beard, if you have a beard, has begun to freeze over. It's so bitterly cold. And you look back toward Lawrence, he's been carrying all of the wood. He's been carrying all the supplies, and he's kind of standing there, and he's looking back toward the hill and looking back toward the donkey, and like one of the packs is gone. He clearly left it in his wake somewhere.
I don't know what happened. We've lost a pack somewhere. How could that have happened?
How can we be losing things when you were so busy gathering things?
Maybe it's whatever killed that man back there.
You'd better hope it was.
Why don't you go find out? Well, go find it. You're the leader.
I'm not the one that lost the pack, Jameson. So off you go. And she like snaps in his face.
It would be more reasonable to simply look in the morning.
There you go.
Well, if we do that, someone's going without dinner, and I think we all know who. Lawrence.
Oh, Starling.
Let us consider that we are about to approach a chateau, which, whilst very pretty, is in all intents and purposes a fortress. Luckily, we are attempting to infiltrate it at night, which gives us some advantage, but not if we are walking around with the only dancing lights in about 300 miles.
Oh, well,
she makes a good point.
If that is what you want, I will sort of shake out my fingers, which is where the lightning bug that I had crushed to summon these lights was, and like sort of shake it on the ground and put my glove on, and as I do, the lights disappear.
What a strange man.
I do appreciate your parlor tricks, of course, Barthelm, but we must be careful. And carefully, the hood of the lantern is kind of angled a little bit to keep the light from shining towards the chateau as best as she can without extinguishing our only light.
Of course, Your Majesty, Queen of the Road. How could we have gotten all the way here if it weren't for your impeccable navigation skills? I'm sure I didn't see the same tree 6 times on our way here.
Well, if you're looking for a date, Barthelm.
The longer we're outside during nighttime, the higher our risk of exposure. We should move.
Salome makes a very valid point, and as Starling was kind of she was closing, as Starling was closing the vents to the lantern, they are kind of turned toward the village, and Salome, that's when you see that light that Starling pointed out earlier. It's actually, it looks like a flickering candle, and it's coming from this small stone hole at the peak of this small chapel. There's a chapel not more than maybe 100 feet away at best, through the village, and it appears to be the only place where you've seen light. In fact, you can see that the chimney there's kind of this blue curls of like faint smoke. Maybe a fire is still burning inside.
All right.
So whilst I would love to stand outside and practice sarcasm some more with Barthelm, because God knows he needs the practice, perhaps we should make for this chapel for a bit of shelter for the night.
More information would be useful.
Precisely.
Hard walls are better than snow.
You head toward this chapel, and you come to the doors, and it's a very, very small, underkept village chapel. I mean, literally, it's like this small 1-story affair with a steepled roof that appears to have some sort of religious iconography carved into the stone, roughed out. You can see what appears to be a god who is simply called the Martyr. She wears a crown of thorns, a blood-stained robe, and a babe in her arms with a skull for a head. She is the god of life, death, and birth. This must be a chapel to the Martyr, which means it's a place of safety and sanctity. Now, as for Barthelm, a different story, being the traitor and all. So the question is, like, what is Barthelm's maybe what is his thought about the following of the martyr. And by the way, the martyr is the one of the three key gods of this world. Like,
Right.
what is his relationship with that priesthood, if at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's basically been hiding the fact that his family is a cult because they, at the very least, would probably brand him a heretic. No offense, by the way, using the word brand. And it's one of those things where I think this makes him very uneasy because he's got his holy symbol with him, he's got his prayer book with him. Everyone who he is traveling with knows that he is in a cult. And so I think this is a situation where, as he's approaching, he is going to change his demeanor a bit and say to everyone, now, I think resting for the night is the smart thing to do. I would very much appreciate it and be in all of your debt if we could keep my activities from the back room private and among ourselves, as we typically do. If we could especially keep a lid on that as we go in, I would be grateful and even willing to help you find the pack in the morning, Lawrence.
How much you willing to pay to keep it a secret?
So we will fade to black as you all will take shelter in the chapel for the evening, leaving the mules outside, getting your packs undone, stoking the fire within, resting among the pews, finding some safety as to save yourselves from freezing to death overnight. And I think we're going to cut away for a 5-minute break. And when we return, we will continue the first thing in the morning after you wake up near the chateau. So we will be right back. And we're back. And guess what? It's morning. And
Hey.
the first thing that you notice as you awaken in this cold crypt, this was no church, it was a mausoleum. And whoever left the candle burning here left it atop a stoned bier of clearly this man's dead wife. There are fresh flowers laying atop the top of the stone slab, and you're awoken by this blinding pale white light, like a shaft of light shining directly through that circular hole at the top of the chapel. And as Barthelm wakes up, it's right in his face, like it's seething, it's burning. He acts like it, at least, perhaps. But you all kind of get up, you mill about, you break your fast on the supplies that you have. Poor Lawrence gets table scraps.
Oh Lord, I at least like share like some jerky or something
Thank
with
you.
him. Like,
Thank you.
That's
Jesus.
good. That's good. Yeah. I mean, you all definitely want to live long enough to find out who the traitor is. So, who's going to be the first to go outside and make water in the morning? Like, who's going to? Barhelm? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I am so uncomfortable in this place. And I mean, actually finding out it's mausoleum, Barthelm might feel more comfortable. But I think because of the presence of all the religious iconography and everything, he is still very worried that clergy could show up at any moment. So I think he will definitely, I mean, cautiously, like I'm going to stand at the door and listen for a moment, and then maybe sniff, follow my seventh sense, and then I will open the door. I'll also take my dagger with me.
Sure. You open this heavy single wooden door that fastened firmly into the threshold. You didn't feel any wind coming in, all right, save for through that hole that basically exposed the snow outside. And there's snow built up on the lip of it above the door. As he opens the door, the light is clearly coming from the east, and the interior of this place is like suddenly illuminated, almost like it's been sanitized by light. And perhaps this was built with that intent and purpose, because all of the beautiful stone carvings, the epitaphs of those who had been lain here to rest, are illuminated. But for you all, you're looking directly in the light of the sun, so you turn your eyes away. And I'm a big fan of horror in broad daylight. And the first thing you notice, Barthelm, as you step outside and you expect to find the mules as your eyes adjust to the darkness, is these three pikes standing at the height of a man, and pooled around the bottom of it is this pink slush, and arrested up on the end of the pikes are the heads of your mules. And as your eyes kind of wander across the yard from the church near this well, you can see that the bodies of these mules have been just positively eviscerated, laying over the lip of the well, and just hacked and hewn viciously and barbarically, to clearly make a statement.
I think like Barthelm is going to, in his voice, like scared and serious, say, Isabel, I need your help.
And she very like dramatically turns to Starling. Did those words just, I'm not hearing echoes of spirits gone.
Now?
Hold my drink. And she gets up and goes to see what's up.
You all can clearly see what's happening as you begin to filter one by one, with Lawrence with the huge pack over his shoulder and no ass to throw it over.
Well, that's unlucky for you, isn't it?
You things are falling out the back of it, including the coins and the things that he had pilfered from the horses. And he looks like some sort of figure out of mythology, like some thing that lives beneath the roots of a tree that robs others. He has this kind of look on his face that just kind of paints him. I mean, he's not an upright person by any means, but he looks different in this light. He looks untrustworthy.
You saying he looks like Gollum?
Maybe a bit.
Saying he looks like a traitor? Like, geez. You're like hardcore.
And Lawrence, from your perspective, you turn toward Barthelm, and as he stands there looking at you with these three pikes behind him with the heads arrested over it, he looks like something that you would see carved in a cave or painted on a cave from hundreds of years ago, like some deep, evil shaman, perhaps, of some forgotten faith. Isabel and Starling, you're kind of standing beside one another. Like, so, Salome, what's happening, like in your character's mind at all this as it begins to unfold? Like, what's happening? And
so Salome has indifference. Yes. Whenever they see any like visceral scenes, blood-soaked death, things like that, they're just sort of like, this is going to be awfully difficult to carry up the hill on our own. And so, like, looking at the rest of them, like looking at each other, it's sort of like, I don't think any of these people did this, but hmm.
It is a scene that is certainly brutal, and Salome has fantastic bedside manner. The look on their face does not change, whereas perhaps for the rest of you, it seems excessive. It seems like what happened in the hills above has been done here, in that you almost feel, as you kind of look around, you feel like you're being watched.
Mhm.
You feel like you're not alone, and the light coming off of the snow, which has been from the wind and the cold last night, just kind of like a firm crust across everything. It is blinding to look anywhere outside
Firm
until you come into
crust.
the shadow of one of these nearby homes, and they're all abandoned. Every single Wattle and Daub home here, covered in snow, embankments against the western side, and they're all abandoned.
To be fair,
One-
Dan, with neighbors like these,
Yeah.
Fair point. Fair point.
Do they seem ransacked? Or they-
Well, that's a great question. You come up toward one of the doors, and it clearly just opens right up. Do you want to step inside?
yes.
Maybe. So,
Of course I do.
Could you leave the supplies outside this time?
Fine.
With a rattle and clatter and tinkle and clank, they fall comically into the snow as the entire pack just unfolds with everything, the pots and the pans and the wood and your socks and your small clothes and your canteens and your toothbrush and
Well, it
your
better
soap.
not be my small clothes.
The things that you would take with you on a trip such as this to execute a warrant. Your supplies basically kind of collapse in a heap. Imagine like when you dump a bunch of stuff in Skyrim, it's like everywhere. That's what happens.
Nice.
So Lawrence, you step inside, and this is a single room home. You see an old wooden bench, probably carved by hand from one of the parents who lived here. You can see a small shrine to the martyr with some polite offerings such as saffron or a sheaf of wheat, perhaps some remnants of incense. The coals in the fireplace are completely cold, gray. The place has light and dust filtering through it. Where the family would have slept is empty. The bedding is still there. The straw matting is still there. A small woven doll is still resting in a chair, just large enough and probably hand carved for the young daughter or son or whoever sat at the foot of the table. The place is empty. The food on the table is rotting, although there's not gnats and flies. It's just rotting. The heel of bread you pick up and try to take a bite of is completely hard. The cheese there's mold growing on it. Like, these people have not been here for some time.
It almost looks like it's been left in time.
You can shave the
They just
mold
up and
off.
left because things are scattered about. You said there's a doll laying on a chair. There's food out.
It seems poetic, I suppose, in a dark
Okay.
way, maybe. I mean, I guess the question is, like, is Lawrence a superstitious person?
No.
No. Is Lawrence maybe is he maybe feeling a little uneasy about this situation?
He's looking over his shoulder. He's kind of looking around. Every little creak or rattle, he looks over in that direction as he goes into the silverware drawer to see if there's any left.
The flatware, which is made of wood, and the platter is made of clay, valueless, but perhaps the collector in all of us maybe just wants to take everything, like Skyrim. You just fill up your backpacks. There's nothing of value you could scavenge or scrounge or even sell illegally back in Chandering here. But the family is gone, and you search another nearby building and another nearby hut, and they all kind of appear to be frozen in time. But the threat of whoever may be out there in the broad daylight is perilously imminent. And Starling, you swear you see something move out near this half frozen lake, this apparition, not like in the sense you may think of like a specter or a ghost, but just the faint tracing or outline of somebody moving out in the bright daylight, whose features you cannot make out, what they may be carrying you cannot see. Are they born on legs? Are they born on wings? They look humanish shaped. And as quickly as they're there, as quickly as they're there in the corner of your eye, as you turn around and point, they're gone.
You know, I think I am just going to step back inside. I haven't said my morning's prayers, and since she was such a gracious host last night, dear Mother Marta, hello friend, it's been a while. She's going to go up to the altar, actually, and have a look inside this church. We came in the dark at night. She can hear, I imagine, Lawrence heading out, doing Lawrence-type things, having a look around. She can sense Barthelm about to do a Barthelm before the meal. And is sure Isabel's about to berate, and we'll wait, of course, for Salome to actually make a sensible suggestion about what it is that we're meant to do at this point. But she will take out, I think, a morsel, like, you know, not quite just the crusts of the sandwich from the night before, but, you know, the half of the sandwich she hasn't eaten, and she'll put that out in front. It is but a humble sacrifice, my lady, but it is my favorite, preserves and cheese. And please watch over us on this terrible day.
If you would, Starling, roll a d6 chaos die. Let me know what it lands on.
How about 6? How does that fare me?
Well, your prayers are perhaps answered in some distant way. You don't hear the martyr speaking into your ear and your mind, but you certainly feel soothed. And perhaps it's perhaps Isabel standing near you in just the comfort of being in front of the altar.
Waft of perfume.
Yeah, waft of perfume.
You see like an emoji, like an ellipses, and then it just disappears, and then it shows up again, then it disappears.
I think what we're going to do is we're going to flip that misfortune point back to you all as a fortune for making a story appropriate choice. So you kind of say your prayers, you make an offering. And you collect yourselves. And Isabel, Salome clearly has their game face on, right? The clinical barber surgeon, the village barber surgeon who now will just treat bunions and pull teeth, but also sew you back up.
Yes.
One of the most invaluable professions in Chandering. With
look,
Salome, they being the sole person.
Yeah, why are you gassing me up so much? I don't.
Well,
I feel uncomfortable now. I'm scared.
I'm not buttering up the traitor or anything here, but Isabel, like, knowing what's happened, like now that you kind of know what's unfolded, like people are clearly looking toward you for some decision. Like, they're clearly, you've got the writ, and maybe it's not by choice that you chose to become the leader. Maybe it's just the fact that your name's at the top of it, and your relationship you have with the Baron has led to this strange crossroads where all these people who you would not imagine yourself in the middle of nowhere with, cold and scared, like, what they look toward you for some guidance.
Well, unfortunately for my gathered friends here, I personally, Susanna Grace, love to hit that big red stupid button, so buckle up, fam, it's happening. Isabel looks to Salome and she says, I trust that you are good at your job because we might be in need of your services very soon. Barthelm, God's help me, I need you by my side for this with your tricks. Starling, keep praying. Isabel pulls out her court sword, which is a beautiful basket hilt weapon. It's gorgeous, it's flashy, it's got everything going on. She strides forward and almost in like a pirouette, she draws a circle in the snow around her. Then she calls out a challenge. Whoever's out there, we're not impressed by your intimidation tactics. Come and face me. And she stands there in a fencing pose, and she has a mangoche and her sword ready.
A quick reminder that they may have arrows.
That's fine. I'm sure I can deflect one or two.
I imagine at that point Isabel like swashes her cloak as if it's like a like a toreador, like challenging the bull. Try and shoot me.
Basically, because she's. So here's a thing. She's very prideful and arrogant.
Oh boy.
Oh, you too, huh?
Where are the rest of the horses' bodies?
They have clearly been set to slaughter beside the well. The remaining two that you would rode here on, the donkeys, have been just simply killed. But
That's
the ones that were their heads were severed were the ones that were in front of the temple here.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that this was not an issue of, oh, these heads are here. Where are the bodies? Where are the footsteps that show us where the bodies went? I'm concerned. Okay, that's fine. This is likely the work of something bipedal then. I suggest that if we make a stand, we should find some cover.
In fact, as you say that, and as Isabel draws the circle in the snow and makes her demand, and Starling kind of flips her mantle out, preparing for whatever may be, Salome, you're right on the mark. Whoever killed these animals, brutalized these animals, you can see their bloody footprints. Not boots, but footprints in the cold snow.
Oh.
Winding their way toward a half-frozen lake. That coincidentally is directly beneath what Starling had seen the night before, this old stone gargoyle. What really just is the chateau looming with its tall towers over this huge frozen lake. And that is when you see something out there, the same apparitions or shapes, something, people across the other side of the frozen lake. And as you kind of bring attention toward it, and Isabel kind of screams out toward whoever may be out there. In the same way that a person may regard that you can't really fight the wilderness, right? Like Mother Nature is agnostic. She cares little for who we are. You feel almost powerless, Isabel, as you make your command. But Salome, they point out and they point toward the lake, and you all collect quickly and move toward the edge of this half frozen lake, and you realize that it's frozen green, because all of the whatever was growing on top of it just kind of formed this weird cake-like top of mold and muck that clearly that's been sputtering down the backside of the chateau for some time, and the shapes are gone. As quickly as you saw them, they just seem almost like a mirage. They're gone in the whipping of the wind that's carrying some of the snow across the crust of the snowfall. It's not snowing today. It's so incredibly bright out. It's really hard to make anything out, and that's why you're kind of feeling a bit confused and discombobulated. But as quickly as the mirage was there, it's gone. All that remains is this twisted, half-cobbled, trafficked road. Footfalls have clearly been through it, twisting its way toward this gatehouse.
While I have your attention, I would like to die most dramatically in your name at some point, but let it not be beside the castle latrine. And let it be after I have made my move on Isabel. Thank you.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, it's very, very clear that Lord Chauncey and the people who have been here in the chateau have spilt all manner of whatever, slough off, if you will, from this huge hill. And you strongly suspect it's not just the water closet. You suspect something else, but it doesn't seem unnatural. It seems perhaps maybe it's a mining operation, maybe? Judging by some of the things you've seen out in the fields, it seems to imply that this must be some sort of mining town. You've seen some, I don't know what they call those things, or the things you kind of filter water through and you sift through the rock. You've seen those kind of zigzag almost what you first thought were perhaps low walls, kind of demarcating acreage. They actually seem to be coming from the lake and zigging this way and that, where people would sift through it looking for valuable minerals. Clearly, they've come up empty. However, then as quickly as the mirage is gone, the only thing you see is that long twisting road that leads toward the gatehouse.
Huh. I am going to take a moment and pull a blindfold out
Mhm.
and tie it around my eyes and cast Witch Sight to see,
Ooh,
like, is
yeah.
this road also an illusion before us?
Yeah, Salome almost says, that's a little high. Okay.
So go ahead and
More
make a
witch stuff.
make a trivial incantation test.
Okay, so
Witchery.
trivial, it'll be plus 30, which is great, because that would put me at 90 and I rolled an 80.
Nice.
So, oh, I'm sorry. No, I rolled a 90 and I had
Oh.
90. So by one, just by one.
Oh well, if you if
Um,
you roll 90 or below, you succeed. If you roll
Oh, right.
91 or above, you fail.
That's right. So,
So
I
you're-
succeed just
yeah.
just in the edge.
Like a James telling the truth about his rolls.
I love it.
Like
Uh,
a traitor.
Like a traitor would.
So Witch Sight, after you speak as a spell, so I can tell if anything is, or object or person is imbued or under the influence of magic, and I can also detect creatures that are classified as supernatural.
Yes. So, in order to peer through the ethereal veil, to look into what is called the Well of Souls, the dark mirror of our own material world, one must blind oneself from natural sight to peer through the veil.
Mhm.
And there is this purple, hazy light coming from this small plinth of rock near the edge of the water. It's the only thing you can see within your witch sight that stands out as being unusual. It almost like, imagine like what fog looks like when it kind of pours out of a fog machine. It seemed to almost be kind of slowly funneling and kind of pooling around this stone thing at the edge of the lake. And it's purple, and it seems to, it kind of raises the hackles on the back of your neck. It feels unnatural. It feels otherworldly.
I will definitely point that out to the rest of my companions, and tell them that it's probably a good idea to avoid that as we make our way down the road here.
Is it your intention to, in that case, continue investigating the village, or do you wish to ascend toward the chateau?
I think so. Let's think about this. We saw the horses yesterday, and none of the weapons were even drawn, right? What does this tell us? It tells us that the individuals who were on horseback, every single one of them, did not have a chance to draw their weapon or chose not to, so they suddenly disappeared. The same thing seems to have happened in this village. Food is left on the table. Things are left exactly where they were whenever these people disappeared. There is some sort of magical mischief about this village. I do not wish to remain here, and I think we should get this job done. But I am not our leader, so I will defer to the one with all of the wisdom, of course, the queen of the road herself.
You are quite right, Barthelm. I'm so glad. I believe we should get the one whose name is on the writ and get out of here before we turn into, well, non-existent people. It is questionable that these people were attacked but did not draw their weapons. Perhaps they did not see their attackers. An ambush is likely, although we have often seen people before us, or perhaps they didn't look amongst themselves, and there was a traitor in their midst, someone they trusted until it was too late. Because trust is a dangerous thing and a tricky game. I'm having a moment.
Well, I personally say we get to the chateau, get whatever we need to be done, and leave this village of cowards that would not answer my challenge. And Isabel is in such a bad mood because she didn't have a fight.
It's like one of those things. You're not necessarily talking through your teeth, but perhaps you're like enunciating every single syllable, looking toward the village to let them
She's
know.
like stabbing
how
the
you
snow
feel.
a bit.
That's right. Yeah. I love it. This
The
is great.
snow.
This is great.
I'll wander out of the village and come back. Like, what did I miss? What's going on here? Hey, someone left a sandwich on that altar over there. And I'll go eat it.
It's not going to eat itself, Lawrence. I'm just saying. With that, you kind of collect yourselves and your goods, and Lawrence, of course, now being the pack mule in this case, you take the bag over your shoulder. You begin to hoof it up this long, winding, twisting, half-cobbled, snow-covered road that leads to the chateau. And as you draw closer, Starling, are you well read? Is your character well read?
Yes, all the great romantic novels.
Oh, I love it. There's a particular author that comes to mind in a story about a prince and his subjects who cordoned himself and his company off from the surrounding village. And maybe this evokes some of the same, it's like there's some strange allegory or parallel here. There's you must have read it in A Penny Dreadful at some point. It seems to almost be shot for shot, close or inspired by, maybe. Or maybe the story was inspired by this. It's hard to say.
In the strangest sense of deja vu, which is also French. How strange.
As you come closer to the gatehouse, it becomes apparent that even though you see footfalls in the snow, there's no way into the chateau. It's surrounded by these tall bits of rock, this kind of limestone that's snow-capped, and the snows have been falling down. And the gatehouse is actually built into the stone itself. In fact, everything seemed to be tilted at a slight angle, almost as if like this whole castle was threatening to slip off the edge of the cliff into the frozen lake down below. And as you look toward the gatehouse, you can see there is this massive iron rusted portcullis that's maybe 1.5 feet off the ground, and it's frozen shut, completely frozen shut. And the footfalls seem to terminate at the portcullis. Looking through the bars, it's almost like there's this strange shadow that falls over the courtyard, because the light doesn't seem to penetrate this crown of rock on the east side. And it seems to almost like, I'm going to say a cavern, but the whole place seems tight and confined. And there'd be no way into the gatehouse unless you were to slip beneath.
I was going to say, then, if it's okay with my other players, Starling, I imagine, is narrating the story that she'd read. Once upon a time, there was a terrible prince who shut himself away, blah, 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 blah. And as she gets the portcullis, I'd like to try an Indiana Jones roll under the gap,
I love it.
just following the story.
So in
the Last Crusade.
It's wonderful.
The penitent man.
Starling falls and rolls kind of gracefully beneath until her clothing gets caught on the portcullis's little iron spines. What's your build type?
And there were great vines that did grow upon the walls as I scrolled to look up my build type. My build is normal.
Normal, okay. I need you to make a standard coordination test, if you would, to slip beneath gracefully. If not...
All right. My target is a 45. 18. That's what a 10 and an 8 means, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
With grace, she slips beneath the portcullis and pops up the other side, continuing her story as if without missing a beat, just like
And he tried to send his people to sleep because they did grow restless within the walls.
Who will follow behind Starling next?
Okay.
Yikes.
Isabel, what is your body type?
Her body type is normal build.
Okay. Yours will also be a standard coordination. And that is to slip beneath the portcullis.
So my target is a 60. I got a 57. Whew.
Nice. Isabel, too, comes beneath the grate, kind of wriggling through and kind of comes up on.
She
both
even does
feet.
like the Indiana Jones bit, like her hat comes off and she reaches out and pulls and grabs the hat.
Bloop, and adjust it just so it's tilted to the 3 o'clock, which is the fashion now. Tilting to the 7 o'clock was the fashion of yesteryear.
That was last week.
Respect the drip.
Do you
as
ever
they
get
say.
the sense that perhaps we are just side characters in their own romance novel? Do you ever feel that way?
I get the sense that they might be side characters in our novel. And I'll pat you on the back.
Ugh.
Not a romance novel,
No,
obviously.
it's
An
fine. You've
adventure.
ruined it, clearly.
Who will go next beneath the the portcullis?
Larry will go next.
Okay.
He'll shrug and just toss all the goods up in the air and try to make his way under.
Oh,
we could just
Tommy
slide,
just like watches the goods go up and then watches them come back down in a heap.
Oh, this is
your
brilliant.
alignment like packed and unpacked? Is that your
Lawrence Jameson, what is your build type?
He is a slender man.
Okay.
Is he?
Traitor. Go ahead and make a routine coordination test.
Ooh, 92.
Well,
that is not a pass.
I do have
So,
a red shirt on.
Lawrence gets caught in the portcullis and is kind of wrenching free perhaps his belt or his bandolier, or maybe the suspenders he uses to hold his trousers up, or the buckles on his boots. And this wind kind of this keening wind kind of passes through the chateau, and the portcullis kind of makes this sort of sound like it's shivering, like the whole iron thing is shivering inside the stone. And there's this like moment of panic when Lawrence looks up and tears himself away from the portcullis as you suffer 8 physical peril. As you have this scrape on your rib cage. Like it hurts, and you're looking at the thing and you're half guessing the whole portcullis is going to like literally shake so hard and collapse, and you can see bits of the frozen ice along the portcullis, along the stone, like break apart, and a few of the kind of long icicles just kind of shatter as they strike the cobbled rock that's beneath this low roof on the outside of the gatehouse. And Barthelm looks to Salome, and Salome looks to Barthelm, and the two of you are on the other side. And Lawrence's eyes are as big as like tea saucers.
After you, Salome.
But yes, fine, all right. I have to patch him up anyway. Otherwise, who will bring the bag? Oh, since I'm going before you, you just bring the bag on your way through.
Yes, I will just slide it under.
Yeah, I have a slender build as well.
Okay, it will be a routine coordination test for you, Salome. So you will look at your agility.
Okay, my agility is 40, but I have a little bubble in coordination.
Oh, great. And then add another 10% because that's routine.
Okay,
so it'll be 60% or below.
60 or below. Don't screw me. Haha, 32.
Nice. Salome slips through. They come through, looking through the iron bars at Barthelm the traitor. I mean the cultist.
What the fuck?
and Barthelm is kind of holding the bag. And kind of maybe he just kind of looks over his shoulder for a moment, maybe as if perhaps escape is a good idea. I don't know. But what is racing through your mind, Isabel, at this point, as Barthelm has literally all of your supplies in hand?
She is stood on the other side of the portcullis, looking at him, going, "Do it. I dare you. I triple fucking dog dare you to run away with our supplies. Because I will find you and kill you."
I'm going to look her dead in the eye and just very slowly raise my cane and poke her through the bars real quick and just be like, "Oh, looks like I got the best duelist. Oh, got him."
And she grabs the cane as you poke her in the chest. She says, "Barthelm, I never knew you felt that way about me. If you do well, maybe you can try your luck again."
What is why are all these women throwing themselves up? No.
And I say, "Well, I would run away, but you've got my cane, you see." And I will take the pack, and I'll look over my shoulder like one more time. But in my head, like, I know there's no way I can survive walking through that village without these people.
Even still, like when he looks over his shoulder one more time, Salome's like hand goes to their belt where they do have a they have a bottle on their belt, and they think about it for a second. They're like, I bet I can throw farther than he can run.
Oh, definitely. Barthelm is many things, and slow and coordinated are two of, and uncoordinated are two of them.
Slow order, uncoordinated chaos.
So I will. I'm going to. I'll like put the pack on the ground first, and I'll slide that through to them, and then grumbling, get down on my belly and try to crawl under this thing as I talk about how undignified it is.
Is there any way that I can assist him on the way through?
Absolutely. So Barthelm, my first question for you is, what is your build type?
A Slenderman.
Okay, Slenderman as well. Makes sense for a cultist trader. It's a
yes, the two genders. Normal and slender.
You have two stats: cultist and trader.
Cultist is my dump stat.
So for you, it's a routine coordination test. But because Salome has extended their arm out to kind of pull you through, what I'd like for you to do, Salome, is just roll your percentile die, like
rude.
And
sorry. Thank you.
And this will be an assist die.
Okay.
And Barthelm, you can and look. What you'll do is you'll reference their die, and whichever is more favorable, whichever combination is most favorable for you, you get to use.
Gotcha.
What'd you roll, Salome?
A 90.
Cool.
So you'll take the 9 in your case, Barthelm. And what did you roll for your routine coordination test?
A 68.
Okay. Would you have succeeded with any dice combination there?
No, not with the 9. No, there's no way I can make that work. So I will indeed spend a fortune.
Aha! And I will take a misfortune in return.
Aha.
So you may re-roll at the same difficulty rating.
All right.
And
that's worse.
Wow, look at James using up all our fortunes like a traitor.
It's cool. Yeah. I assume that Charlie is going to get them back. So good job, Charlie.
As Barthelm is beneath the portcullis, the wind seems to come again. And as the icicles begin to break, you all actually step back, stepping away, lest you be pierced through the skull with these huge, long icicles. And Salome yanks Barthelm through, and Barthelm, you will suffer as a result 6 physical peril.
Oh no!
As this happens, you hear this kind of tumbling of rock for a moment, and you can see bits of rubble kind of break off the gatehouse, and you're like, where the fuck are the gate people? And the gate just boom makes this slamming sound of iron striking stone, and sparks everywhere. That's clear it's made from Flintstone. It sparks as it strikes, and the whole of the chateau, ground, walls, and the nearby half collapsed main chamber seems to almost seize for a moment as dust and snow kicks loose as this 5-ton portcullis drops, shutting you all inside. And as you step back just a few paces, Lawrence falls over a half-frozen body that is arrested like this. As if this person was scrambling away from something in the air, and the courtyard is littered with the dead. You all must make a challenging resolve test.
I just finally understood what's going on here. I'm not slow.
I
got
don't
it
like
now.
this, first of all. Wait, it says I always succeed at resolve tests.
Was it with the talent that you have?
It's a talent. Wait, but it says blood soaked and visceral.
Indifference.
This isn't really.
Yeah, that'd be indifference. No, this is fear. This is not
fear.
a scene of visceral, of bloodiness.
Okay, so this is just regular desiccated bodies. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'll roll for that.
All right, it's chroma keying a bit, but I got a 0, 0, and a 1.
Nice. It's a critical success.
Oh gosh.
We'll
Okay.
see what everyone else rolls first.
So I have to beat a
77.
45.
Quick fail. Oh, I rolled a 7.
Oh,
Nice.
dang it.
Yeah,
I rolled a
4.
67, which means that I triggered my lily livered again too.
Oh no.
Use that fortune.
Rude. So 3 initiative, 3 movement.
Yeah,
Why are you trying to
TK?
get me to use up all the fortune, James?
No, TK,
I
do
don't
it.
listen.
It's okay.
As a trader,
Okay,
a
what?
trader would not benefit from giving
Okay,
misfortune
so-
to the GM.
So Ooh, sounds like the type of thing a trader would say. First of all, do I just re-roll? Is that what using a fortune does? Okay, that's fun.
So I will gain 1 misfortune as you use a fortune.
Cool. Guess what, y'all?
Which
I
roll?
got a 56. That is a fail.
What about Bardhelm? What happened with Bardhelm? in this?
I got a 4, so I'm
Nice.
good.
So everyone.
I gotta
so
start
it sounds like
lying.
so Starling critically succeeded, Isabel critically failed,
Mhm.
and Salome failed, whereas Lawrence and Barthelm succeeded. So Barthelm and Lawrence, you steel yourselves, and Starling, with this critical success, you immediately recognize that Isabel maybe is quaking a bit in her fashionable boots, and Salome is kind of just freezes in place. Because you roll a crit success, I think there should always be some form of reward for that. Who would you like to shake out of their fear? Would it be Isabel or will it be Salome?
I think she sees Isabel quaking and she considers it, but then she remembers that Salome is the one who will patch her up should she ever be impaled by a 5-ton gate dropping on her. And she whispers to Isabel as she passes, and in the end, the castle fell into the lake. Salome, what's wrong?
Sorry, I've just never seen there doesn't seem to be a cause of death.
I think it is probably fear, which is why we should steel ourselves.
That's
And I have a
unreasonable. I
theory.
don't like that.
I have a theory. We've seen no tracks in the snow. We saw only horses behind. And here, this person, they gaze towards the skies. What if we look for something that doesn't walk on feet, but flies in the air? They came from above. At which point, we should get into cover.
I appreciate that you're trying to make me feel better, even though it's not working.
The gargoyles.
Cool.
J'accuse.
So those who failed will suffer. Those who failed, not critically failed. Those who failed will suffer 6 mental peril.
Look.
And if it meets the value, you do not
Okay.
move down the peril condition track.
Oh, okay. So am I still imperiled from the last time?
That's a great question. So normally, if you were sleeping in a place of safety, you would be restored to unhindered overnight. So
okay.
napping doesn't heal stab wounds, won't heal your damage condition track, but it will heal
Uh-huh.
peril because peril restores from resting.
Okay.
However, because of the dangers that the chateau and the surrounding environment provide, you would only ever restore overnight to imperiled. So I think you're still imperiled.
Okay, so I am imperiled. Okay, so I slept last night. Do I still have the lily-livered condition from yesterday since it doesn't count? Or
Great question. So anytime you have something that is a negative benefit, it does not stack. So you're not going to suffer multiple times. But if you if you have suffered peril, it will trigger lily livered once again.
Okay. So wait.
So you're not lily livered from yesterday, essentially.
Okay.
You only have it once and you've just renewed it.
Okay, cool.
That's right.
Awesome. So I'm imperiled right now. I don't move down. Okay.
Okay. As for Isabel, who critically failed,
also
a very different story. You suffer 18 mental
18? Good.
Yeah.
Good. Thanks. Yeah, I'm ignoring a skill rank now, which is wonderful. I think Isabel stood there and like a bit of masonry when it all collapsed, like skimmed her cheek. So she's got like that hot thing, like bump on her cheek. And she's like, my face. She's not bothered about the bodies. It's her face. My face. And she's just like stammering to herself and looking at the blood.
I think Barthelm is going to see this and sort of very calmly come over and take your hand, if you will let him, Isabel, and say, come, dear, we have to keep moving. I believe that what Starling said is right. We should find some cover and get away from this open sky. Come with me. It's okay.
I think the audacity of a Lichtenfield to touch her snaps her out of it.
Fair enough.
Isabel cannot truly be afraid of anything. And Salome, now that they know what there is out there, fear is the weapon of the unknown. If we understand the unknown, we are not afraid.
I appreciate this attempt.
I'm glad.
It's clear that something has happened here in the courtyard, that the bodies are half frozen, some in fear, some as if they were crawling away. But what is most curious about all of this, as you're gingerly stepping between them, is to not let them fall brittle to pieces by simply bumping against them. There are these thin gossamer webs.
Hate that.
Interwoven between all them, thin, like a spider's web. And
not better.
Lawrence, at first you're like, holy shit, there's like a massive haul of purple opals everywhere. And like Lawrence reaches down and then draws his hand away as there's these tiny purple spiders crawling all over the bodies.
Hate this.
He lets out a very girly scream.
What manner of spiders can survive the winter?
What kind of spiders are purple? I think we're dealing with the unknown here. Perhaps
turn your witchery on.
Witch sight.
I will blindfold it up. I assume there's like a cool 3-cut montage of like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I like to think that since Salome does have a holy symbol on them, they're not like devout, but there's still like this witchery.
Yeah. Salome, will you tell us what your dooming is?
Oh, your dooming.
My dooming is be wary of false friends.
This dooming is carved on the back of every symbol of faith, is given to you as a child. Everyone has had their dooming told. A way in which prognosticators, soothsayers, have foretold the way in which you will pass. Consider your doomings at this point very carefully as you begin to enter the chateau, and let that guide what happens next. You kind of gingerly move between the bodies, and you come toward what can only be the main entrance of the chateau. And it is the huge double doors are completely rent off of the stone threshold, like two huge cathedral doors, and they're lying along the stone step, and there are bodies littering everywhere. But the one that stands out the most, the one that's most curious, the one that is not like the others, is not clothed. In fact, there's one body among them that is naked as the day they were born, but they are covered in purple woad. And their hands are wrapped around this shillelagh of this dark wood. You would guess which wood. And Barnhelm, as you place the blindfold over your face, there is this inky absence of light, just kind of like hovering over everything. Like it's almost like you're looking into the vault of night beneath your feet, like you're looking into stars beyond the heavens. The floor, the ground does not exist. The bodies are not there. You're standing over oblivion. There is an absence of light, not the light of the martyr, but even the presence of the being you worship. This is a place where no gods hold power. For those who are not looking through Witch Sight, the body that's near the doors, wearing the purple woad, naked head to toe, their eyes are stitched shut, as is their ears and their mouth. The nose has been removed. The hole that is there has been stitched shut. Every hair upon the body has been shaved off completely.
Yeah.
And Salome, the words that come almost out of your mouth as you see this is Denoin Kokra, the painted folk. Only this person, it's clearly was not one of the peasant rabble or even the bannermen of Lord Chauncey who were lying amid the field of the dead in the courtyard. It's the only person here that is different than the others, and they are lying prostrate right in the middle of the door, as if they were somehow slaughtered here. Yet you see no blood, you see no wounds, just head to toe painted in purple woad, and the tiny spiders crawling everywhere across the corpses.
Do I, as a barber surgeon, recognize this as some kind of like funerary, like preparing a body for a funeral or anything with the stitches and stuff?
That's a great question. Well, you critically succeeded your folklore test earlier, so I think you would know maybe some insight as to what may have happened. This seems ritualistic. This seems that this person probably underwent this by choice. There is all manner of strange stories about the man-eating Picts, as they're called in the city, but as you know them by their colloquial name, the Denoin Kokra, the painted folk. They are unlike the quote civilized folk of Chandering. They are clearly not servants of Lord Chauncey, the man you've come here to arrest. They clearly are an invasion party. You found their arrows on the horse.
Mm-hmm.
This person, whoever this is, has clearly been killed, but by unapparent means. But this appears to have been done purposefully. Maybe, just maybe, Lord Chauncey and his people managed to drive one of the painted folk out of the main chamber of the chateau. Maybe. That could mean they could be inside. And in fact, maybe it's just that insight as your eyes turn toward the interior, and in the darkness you see this golden light, burning torches encircling this huge, massive golden pillar.
Oh, don't like that.
Almost grow out of the center of the main chamber of the chateau. It's a beautiful obelisk that seems to almost draw any light that would be around it toward it. Scintillating, golden, and beautiful, and perfect.
I would like to relay what I know and am theorizing with this whole thing. And I defer to your judgment, leader.
Lawrence is reaching for the nearest body. It doesn't matter if it's man, woman, whatever. He's like, we found him. Here's Chauncey. Mission accomplished. Let's go. He's dragging it towards the gate.
Ooh, don't grab anything that could be covered with weird spiders.
Batting them off him.
Darling is going to light up one of the torches from the pack and be waving it to push the spiders back to keep them away from the party. 'Cause flame works on most beasts.
Yes.
She's dealt with bugs on the road.
This and I should be, let me be clear, the spiders are as large as your pinky nail. They're small and they appear to be mostly harmful. And as you draw fire, they quickly scatter. In fact, taking the torch to the gossamer webs, just quickly, they kind of go up in a whiff very quickly. And you see these like little lances of light as the entirety of the webs are kind of burning away from the bodies as you set one aflame. Like almost like this chain reaction as the smell of burning silk strands kind of infiltrate your nose.
Now, the snow should preserve the bodies on the ground, but can we tell how long this Pictish warrior has been in this state?
That would require your medical bag.
I love my medical bag, yes.
Imagine a tackle box as it unfolds. That is kind of what happens with Salome's bag. They put it down on the ground and unbuckle it, this large leather bag, and suddenly kind of like articulating all these different compartments, like an apothecary's cabinet. It could be carried with all these careful, sharp blades and these strange apparatus and these needles and other paraphernalia that you would associate with their trade.
Using my folklore knowledge, I would like to examine this body as, what is the word, respectfully as I can, without that may come in handy for us if any of the Pictish warriors come by. I don't want to desecrate it, but I do want to get an idea of how long it's been dead and sort of extrapolate that with what we know about the people on the ground and the horses that we found. Has it been dead longer than those horses have, etc.?
Good question. So
could it be related?
You clearly have expertise in this. In all people are built the same, despite the what garb they wear, what words they speak, or what culture they come from. Salome takes out this long telescoping rod and prods on the arm and takes measure with a small mirror, placing it toward the mouth to see if perhaps they're still breathing. They press their hands in the middle of the chest, and there's this kind of oozing that kind of comes forth from the lips. And Salome, you almost you step back at this, like it's not blood, it's like purple something just kind of like spills forth like froth from the mouth and begins to kind of slowly dribble from either side.
I'll swab and take a sample.
Yeah. You place it in what would best be compared to as a petri dish, which is probably in a very rudimentary sense, being a non-Galenic medicine user. It's literally like maybe it's like a little cameo that you kind of slide open and put it in there and keep it.
And screw the lid back on, set it back into the satchel. And sort of the eyes have been sewn shut, so that's not going to be very helpful, but check the elasticity of the skin, etc.
The best you can surmise, a day or two, rigor has just settled in. The bottom of the flesh is now turning purple and blue. So whatever liquids are inside the body are starting to settle. This is my, of course, kind of above board. I don't really know much about corpses, so I'm assuming this is right. Yeah, pretty much a day, more or less.
Odd.
Is it possible, doctor, I'm sorry, barber surgeon, that this corpse is the transportation device for all of these tiny spiders we see around us. It's sort of a weapon of mass destruction that this individual might have turned themselves into, that then dispersed horrible, terrible spiders everywhere. Possibly these are babies and there are much bigger ones somewhere. I just wondering.
I suppose at this point anything is possible. I do have some reason to question this. Did this man ride here on his own? If there was an infiltration party, where are their horses and supplies? Why don't we see them among the dead?
Starling, your eyes turn toward the battlements, looking for ladders, looking for to kind of like that kind of like unconscious bias. You're just like kind of going with it and trying to figure out, did they come from up above? Because the way they're arrested seems to indicate that, and you don't see any way that anyone could have crawled over the walls or even the mountain. It's too high. It's unassailable. It can't be scaled.
I'm
Unless
telling
you
you,
were
it
a
was the
giant
great
purple spider.
rocky guardians of this castle. Or a giant purple spider. I had not thought of that. That is a wonderful suggestion. But my question is, what is the golden glow? What is
Why
this?
don't we go find out?
What is this mimicry, though? The last time we found a singular light, it was in the chapel, and the next morning, outside, we discovered death and destruction and misery and everything else. One golden light outside, death, destruction, misery, and everything else.
Please refrain from touching anything that could lead to further witchery.
An excellent inclination, and I shall keep this torch held high, because then if we have two lights, perhaps we shall not become a part of the death, destruction, and everything else.
I very much hope to be part of the death, destruction, and whatever else.
I shall
Maybe
leave
the one
that in your
causing it.
department, my dear lady, the lion cord.
Hang on. What's wrong with witchery? Okay, witchery gets us out of scrapes from time to time.
Witchery
When?
gets us into scrapes from time to time.
Far more scrapes. I would define this as one large witcherous scrape.
I quite agree.
There's no proof that any abyssal prince is behind.
You have a purple spider on your hand.
Well, Tom, what was your witchery when you were sliding through that portcullis and caused it to fall and my beautiful face to get bruised? Where was your witchery then, huh?
I am. I'm sorry. Where was your brave swordplay then?
I can't exactly.
You have another
fence
purple
a
spider on
portcullis.
your hand.
Lawrence,
Going inside.
Covered in spiders.
Shall we?
as you all are kind of filtering inside the main chamber, beyond the doors that were rent off its hinges and beyond the body of the painted folk lying prostrate on the ground, Lawrence, do you happen to recall the story of the valet back in Chandering? The whole reason why the Baron may have started sending people here. Do you recall that story at all?
No, I don't. Refresh my memory.
You seem to remember there was something happened like less than just maybe a month ago. Lord Chauncey had actually sent, or a messenger came here and returned. And when he returned, he was talking madness. He was talking about he was having these strange dreams and that the people of Chateau Kilden were missing and he managed to escape with his life. And then he started having these very, very odd dreams. And it was talking about some talking purple spider thing in the back of his head that was burrowing its way into his skull. And he was found dead, hanging from his own bed sheets 3 days later from the rafters. He had taken his own life, and that is what had started the Baron's inquiry, sending his war parties out to understand what may have happened. And Isabel, obviously, you know that Sir Matthew Thornton was part of one of these war parties. He may have been the first person to come here. In fact, a knight. I mean, he's knighted. He's Sir Matthew Thornton. How desperate would the Baron have to be to send you all to see what has happened? This almost feels like a death sentence. This almost seems purposeful, perhaps, that you've been sent away with the expectation you would not return. yet you have survived this far. And as you come inside the main chamber of the chateau, this gilded pillar of beauty and beaten bronze and gold, with filigree and grandiose and gilded with flowers and children and forests and all manner of beasts of the wood, are gallivanting and dancing and enjoying themselves in nature, and all seem to be reaching toward the heavens like this great motif, where above there is this woman, a gentlewoman, the martyr, doubtlessly extending her hands down. But as you look beneath the feet at the gilding of the pillar, there are corpses that are people that walk upside down, almost so that they're mirror images of those above. And among them is this upside down figure of this woman clad in a long cloak with antler horns and a massive scythe. It must be the custodian. It is the opposite of the martyr, that which urges death and brings the turn of season, not an evil deity by any means, but a part of the natural order. Like, this is some great artistic work. And as Starling has that torch in the hand, it almost feels like this pillar is literally drawing the light from it. It glitters so brightly and almost in a blinding golden light. If you can imagine what a Renaissance painting may look like, with this gold and bronze colors and deep, rich, kind of like silvers, like the entirety of this chamber, despite the death and the destruction outside, it seems to cast this warmth over the interior of the chateau, as if it was almost collapsing around this pillar. In fact, you can see a hole through the roof here, and snow kind of built up along the floor. And this broken placard, this map of a sort, perhaps, lying shattered in pieces no more than a few feet from you, that was once affixed to this pillar, drawing you in closer and closer as the courtyard is behind, and inside there is warmth and safety. You feel restored, standing before this great work of architecture. Yet around you, the chateau is in shambles, threatening to collapse upon itself.
I fear we have made a grim and perilous error in the trusting of the Baron. But this place is far better than the book described. Yes. Mother. Other mother. Bows to the custodian as well. I think the hat is kind of taken off and held across her heart as she drifts closer and closer to the beckoning golden of this light.
I am going to put a hand on Starling's shoulder, and I'm going to say, "You heard the whispers too. Ignore the light. Step into the shadow."
I did not hear such a whisper.
And I am going to try to urge you and like sort of look you in the eye and very seriously, without the normal sort of haughtiness and put on airs that Bart Helm typically has, say, I think this light is a temptation. Look all around. Everything is crumbling. That is clearly a trap. You've laid many yourself as the queen of the road. You would not fall for such a thing.
I think there's a sharp turn in Starling's body, and that lantern, or sorry, the torch just comes really around and close to your face. And she blinks, and she tries to recall the whispers, tries to scroll back through her Twitter feed to find them because they have disappeared.
There is one secret for everyone. Secret number 12. Ignore the light. Step into the shadow.
That is true. There is along this path, along the way here to the chateau. It feels like you have been. Maybe it's your faith in the gods. Maybe it's your trust in yourself. Maybe it's some sort of spiritual strength that's drawn from somewhere else. Like you've had these kind of urges within yourselves that maybe perhaps you haven't uttered outwardly yet, save for Barthelm, who has just now spoke of something. In fact, the first thing that kind of came to your mind, Starling, you didn't really think about it at the time, but it was like this is just kind of like this voice in the back of your head, like refuge, the fugees, refugee can be found where the kneelers beg for mercy. And like that, like lines up with the chapel, the place of safety where you're able to rest that night. Like it just kind of like comes to you. And then for you, Isabel, as you look toward Lawrence kind of hunkered over with this, with the satchels and such, you remember like somewhere along the way, you're like, our supplies are gonna be poisoned by somebody, a friend, perhaps. Like it is just kind of like this crazy thought that you would ever put any mind to, but like it just starts to kind of like slowly sync up these things that you've kind of heard along the way. And maybe it's just your mind's playing tricks on you. Maybe it's just a situation. Maybe it's because you're isolated and uncertain and unsure of what to do or what is going to unfold. You only have yourselves. You only have your friends, frenemies, whoever. You only have the 5 of you here in this place. Aught else is danger around you. The question is, what are you going to do? Because you were clearly trapped at this point in the chateau.
I think Starling, hearing Barthelm's words and the recollections filtering in, just literally calls out as loud as she can to get the others' attention. Where is the darkness? The darkest darkness.
The voice, her voice, echoes inside of the chateau, and maybe it's just the moment. Maybe it's just a trick of the light, but the shadows seem to shift and you see something very strange. If you come around the back side of the pillar, there is this doorway that seems to lead inside of it. This pillar is probably the circumference of a 200-year-old oak tree. You would guess maybe 12 feet in diameter. It's huge. It's huge. Could it be a chamber? Could it be a stairwell? You won't know until you take the first step.
I will take the first step.
Yeah, you will.
Sometimes to go above, you must
go
below. Isabel steps inside, and there is this stairwell that does not twist like you would assume it would be, right? Because most stairwells are built to where people are on top or right-handed can find those who are left-handed down below. This turns the opposite way, the left-handed way. This was built for an explicit purpose, not to descend, but to ascend. And within the interior of this pillar are these thin gossamer webs and these tiny purple spiders that crawl this way and that. Nuisances more than anything else, but they're literally all over.
So Isabel calls over her shoulder, Starling, darling, we're going to need that torch.
The webs burn away quickly in a flash. Smoke lingers in the air, and the stairwell is now, you can now pass through it, although you will step on spiders without a doubt.
That's fine. Isabel like draws her rapier, but she puts it in her left hand. Even though she's not as skilled, she's just still like, haha. And I think she will descend first.
You lead the way, and you go further and further below, and you're not really sure how far you've went at this point. It seems It seems much. This place seems much deeper than you would expect. Maybe it's leading into the very heart of the cliff that so threatens to collapse into the frozen lake just outside of the chateau. You descend further and further and further until it terminates. And it terminates in this long, unhewn mining cavern. Or sorry, not unhewn. It's a supported mining cavern with these huge bits of cross timber supporting the ceiling. It looks like they've been down here for quite some time. And I say they because there are mining tools all over. In fact, as you turn toward the pillar, this door was cleverly hidden, but whoever passed through here left it open. You would not know it's there unless you knew to look for it. But this clearly leads into a very dark cavern. In both Starling and Salome, I believe that both of you had seen the shapes of people out near the lake. It's hard not to make the connection that perhaps they were coming inside below the chateau. Maybe this opened somewhere deeper within. Like maybe there's a way out if you went this way.
Well, we also saw the bloody footprints leading in this direction. I think it's likely that whatever we find or whoever we find down here was the murderer of our horses.
But do we think Chauncey's down here? Are we sure we don't want to go back and get one of those bodies out of the court and leave?
Solid backup plan, but first the darkness.
Also, we can't leave unless you can lift a 5-ton portcullis.
He's right.
Or fly.
Human ladder.
And who's
Like
going to be on the
crabs in a
bottom
barrel.
of this ladder?
You asked me questions.
That's what I thought. Shall we press on further and hope they didn't dig too deep?
As you begin to move through the cave, it's wet, it's damp, the air tastes wrong. The whole place seems odd. It doesn't quite line up with your expectations of what you would find in a cavern. The walls seem to almost be comprised of abalone. They are this strange color and shape that almost it's some strange rock that's down here. And as you press further and further in, every once so often the cave seems to, I wouldn't say breathe, that's not the right word, but it seems to shamble, move, shift slightly, as if the chateau itself was doing everything it can to hold on to the edge of the cliff, to not fall over. In fact, the whole of this cavern almost feels like it's threatening to collapse. And you're so far in, to turn around would potentially spell your doom. You can only feel this urge to go deeper and deeper and deeper. You pause for a moment, taking a breath. What do you want to do from here?
Well, Isabel is too proud to admit that she's a little bit afraid of this kind of thing. So she's putting on a very brave face. She's got a chin up in defiance. If we turn back, we die. I'm just saying.
If we go on, we die.
Yes. I think either way, this will lead to glorious change. I am remembering on hands and knees approach. Well, perhaps this is something we've already done by crawling through the gate. Or perhaps we need to approach now on hands and knees.
But then how will I fire my blunderbuss? And you've heard the clattering sound of 4 AP worth of action as a blunderbuss is being loaded.
Well, that's a fair point.
Yeah, Salome's been bringing up the rear because my movement is 4, and it's real spooky in here, and they don't have a torch or anything, so they're kind of relying on other people with light sources. Well, if we're going to go about on hands and knees, we might as well establish some manner of order so we can all stay within arm's distance or something of each other. No point in crawling around in the dark.
The cavern does shift in height and width. It seems that
hate that.
Yeah, it gets really tight in places. And it seems like there is but one direction to go. Like the place was made to go deeper within and to challenge those who had passed through it to compress themselves close to the earth to squeeze through.
We know for sure that this must lead somewhere because this was created from the ground up. Wherever we're going must be finished.
There's water kind of water gathered in pools beneath your bellies as you're squeezing through. It's almost like this is almost like a sluice, like whatever was meant to come through here passes through, and then like you're remembering the lake that was kind of that brackish green and frozen. Like maybe this is where the runoff for the mining comes through, but you're so far in at this point, like there's no turning back.
Mother Martha, we made a deal.
And as you come through the other side, there's light. Light of 1,000 torches, as bright as the sun. As through the darkness, you see these twinkling candles. And they're fixed into these kind of bits of crevasses in the rock. They're put along the standing stones, wax melted everywhere, as hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of candles have been burning here for ages.
Friends of yours?
Maybe it was smart to ignore the light and step into the shadows.
Yes, I believe this might be a good time. And I'll have you know, every cult worth its salt changes out the candles regularly and clears out the wax. This is just utter disgracefulness. I don't know who they're worshiping, but it's not the Abyssal Prince of Change.
the candles are very haphazardly placed. In fact, your first intuition, Lawrence, is like, what are they made out of? Clearly beeswax. For those who want to know,
beeswax and tallow. Oh, beeswax is good. Yeah. Never mind. I was about to go into history and like economics. It's like, oh, these are expensive.
It's clear that whoever placed them here are probably apiars, perhaps. In fact, Salome and Barthelm, you would know that the Picts raise bees. In fact, they also harvest other insects for a variety of means, whether it be medicine or poison. And although there are no purple spiders here, you can see where the mining operation has continued. Like they've been working on this side, and you could start to see like betwixt the rock and the cavern are these semi-finished pillars. Like they're unearthing some temple beneath the chateau. There's mining picks and other tools and shovels and spades and rocks and boxes. Whoever's been working down here has been working in earnest, because they've turned forth from the rock and the earth like remnants of some old, very, very old temple of these cyclopean stones, irregularly shaped, not mortared together, and covered in these symbols, although there's lots of earth and stuff kind of filling them in. But you can see like edges of what looks like a huge kind of an archway, a doorway, and they have managed to, even though the rock has not been completely removed, there's like this man-sized hole inside of it.
You said, oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. Go
Oh,
ahead.
you're fine. No worries. Please go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, DK.
No, I was saying sorry to James. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, Bart Helm. I think at this point, it's like in for a penny, in for a pound. Will draw his dagger, which is of course like skull tipped and very culty looking, wavy blade.
Looks like Yzma from their Emperor's New Groove designed it.
Exactly. Exactly, and just like walk right through that hole.
He steps through without even realizing, drawn like magnetically toward it. That curiosity can only be sated by exploring what it may be. He doesn't even recognize that the cavern continues on deeper within, beyond this place. And you step inside through this rock as Barthelm is swallowed by the darkness.
It's better this way. None of us liked him.
Oh. I'll cast Will-o'-the-Wisp.
Okay. It will be an easy test for you, an easy incantation.
Bye, James. Ripperoni, Reese's and Pieces.
Yes, that is success.
You feel like you're moving through a soupy morass or trying to find your way through stage curtains where there is no other side. There is no audience. You just find yourself kind of moving through this immaterial shape, this thing, this vestigial whatnot, as even the light of Will-o'-the-Wisp seems to have difficulty penetrating this inky blackness, but you follow them in earnest, these three twinkling, oozing green stars.
I will call back and say, if we're looking for shadow to step into, I definitely found some.
You can hear his voice as clear as day as it kind of echoes into the main cavern. He's alive. He's safe for now. And you can see some of the kind of faint incandescent green light coming from where he must be within, beneath this massive arch covered in symbols.
First of all, I do not appreciate the question mark at the end of that sentence. I will follow the lead of the other people.
Is Chauncey in there?
Lawrence inquires.
No, but the missing pack is.
Oh, he draws his flintlock pistol and follows you in.
I'm sorry. Did everyone get the memo that we're bringing guns? Are we? Is that-
No, I didn't bring a gun. I
Oh.
didn't realize.
Thank goodness.
Isabel calls down the hall where the boys went, boys, if you could keep calling every few seconds so we know when you die, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
What do you mean Isabel didn't bring guns?
I mean, beyond these. Because it's my
What?
character, of course.
Hey.
Will all of you intend to follow Lawrence and Barthelm at this point? You all kind of flicker inside.
Yeah, we got 10 minutes. Let's follow.
Oh, yeah, let's do it. Fuck it.
All right.
Yeah.
You come inside the archway and you emerge
Yeah.
on the other end, and and Barthelm is standing in great astonishment at what can only be described as a Google Deep Dream bot. This thing comprised of limbs and skulls and fingertips in babies' arms, in blades, in stone, in kettles, in chairs, in mouths, and eyes. Thousands upon thousands of eyes. This huge motif that's been hewn into the rock. This great beast. There'd be no other way to describe it, but it looks like some fever dream because it seems to undulate and move with a confusing air. And your heads are pounding. Like, imagine like what it's like in a film, right? Whenever bombardments and gunshots are falling, right? The camera moves very quickly, that everything seems to move in slow motion. It's kind of like that whole camera, the whole effect that you would experience with like slow motion dirt. Like there's this like pounding and vibrating in your head that's moving at the speed of which a cat purrs. Like your vision is like blurred and blinded looking at this thing in all of its naked glory. and there is no way to resist what happens next, for you all suffer 13 mental peril and are filled with fear instantly as you see this thing, as it seems to be both withdrawing and emerging from where it exists, and the cavern starts to shake and tremble once again. And it has its own illumination, and the thing is like reaching toward all of you with its thousands of limbs to draw you into its embrace. To call this thing a creature would be a mistake. It is something that cannot be described, save for the Google Deep Dream Bot thing. It's confounding and confusing. The question is, will you accept its embrace, or will you run, or will you try to fight it?
I am at ignore 2 skill ranks, so this feels real bad. Oh my gosh, I
Darling.
hate this.
Is going to extinguish that torch, because if it's dark, we can't see it.
It's a good point.
That's
You
not
can't see it.
bad.
It can't hurt you.
There's this hissing sound as she plunges in a nearby pool of water in the earth, and
Turn out the light, Bartom.
Anybody else have light, save for Starling? Is anybody else carrying light?
I had my my Will o' the Wisps.
Oh yes, that's right. Which cast a wonderful hellish gaze over
Right, yeah.
light over everything.
It's like, there's something distinctly Lovecraftian about this lighting choice.
Now might
Well
be
chosen, traitor.
Now might be a good time to use that bottle on your belt, Salome.
First of all, keep your eyes off my belt. Second of all, I agree with you, but that's not the point. Yeah,
I accept defeat in this argument.
I want to yeet my bottle bomb.
All right.
Which, are we in engaged distance with this thing?
At this point, you're probably 6 yards away at best.
First of all, it doesn't matter. We have 6 minutes yet left. I'm going to yeet this.
Okay.
YOLO.
Bortles!
Salome takes out their striker and it looks like a bobby pin, basically, with steel and flint, and snap, 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 boom, and suddenly this Molotov cocktail is illuminated, and they kind of crane back a couple steps and lob it as hard as they can.
Get out of the way. Well, guess you're...
Go ahead and make a simple ranged test, please.
Okay.
And this will be routine. So you'll
Okay.
basically take your combat value, add any bubbles you may have for simple range, and add an additional plus 10% to determine what your chances for success are.
Father, please. You said range. There's so many. You said so many things together. I'm sorry.
So look at your combat primary attribute. Should be at the
Okay.
very top.
Looking.
What's your value there?
Where's my primary attribute?
It should
I'm
be
so
if your
sorry.
combat.
I see combat profile.
So it's on your first. It's on your first sheet.
It's on my first sheet. Yay.
Yeah.
40. So my
Okay.
combat bonus is 5.
So you'll take your 40%. Do you have a
My
bubble
40?
in simple ranged at all?
I have simple melee, which is weird because this came with a bottle bomb.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I only
That'll
have 40% skill in this bottle bomb. So
And it's a
But
it's
in
a
good news, we have 4 fortune tokens left, so just keep going.
yo.
it is a routine test, so add additional 10%, so your chance is 50% or
Okay.
below. So 50.
Okay. Unfortunately, this is a volatile thing, so y'all hope I don't critically fail this. I got 6.
That's a
I
hit.
got 2 zeros and a 6. So I got 6.
There's this crash and shatter and explosion of fire, like incendiary. Roll 2d6 and then add your big combat bonus value, which I think
I'm
you said
gonna
was
use
5.
my pansexual die.
Nice.
Yeah, they're cute. I got a 3 and a 3.
Nice. So add your combat bonus on top of that, which is
my
yeah.
5.
So it's so 4 and 5 is 9 damage.
9.
So that's just enough to irritate it as it remains unharmed. and and suddenly you can see that
Cool.
the shadows all around
Dan?
you start to encompass. But that's not the only thing that will happen, because Starling.
But
Cool.
Dan, can we spend a fortune point to add an additional fury dice to that roll for damage, please? Because
You
that's a big
can.
Molotov cocktail.
You
And
can.
It was real big.
Yes.
I want to be big damn hero, please God.
So
I gotta. Oh,
we'll turn
I'm
it into
sorry.
we'll turn that into a phase 6. So now it's 9. So now it's 11 damage, and roll another d6, please, Salome.
Okay, I rolled a d6 and I got a 5.
Nice. So that's 16
did
damage
it.
instead.
Is it
And
still mad?
it is angry, and it is unharmed.
Oh.
The
Nice.
fire
We spend
explodes
another
everywhere, and they
Right.
you can, if you wish, which will turn it into 17 damage.
we
You may roll
have
another d6.
We have 3 minutes.
Do it.
Spend them.
I got a 3 on that.
So it's 20 damage. And it's lightly wounded.
Yeah.
Now I would like
we
to
did it.
I would like to spend a fortune to smooch it better. I'm just kidding.
You can do that if you want. You have 3 fortune remaining. You can continue adding damage. You just basically turn your d6 into a phase 6 and roll another one if you wish.
Yeah, okay. Can
So that's
I
20.
can I spend the last 3? Are
damage.
y'all cool?
Yeah,
Are y'all
do it.
cool
Yeah,
with
do
that?
it. Do it.
Yeah.
Roll 3d6.
A 1, 2, and a 3.
Oh my God, TK.
I gotta start lying.
Oh, no.
I gotta start being like James and lying about my rolls.
So that's 28 damage. And it's still lightly wounded.
Okay, that's cool. Whatever.
I
It's
fire
fine.
my blunderbuss really quickly because I spent all that time loading it.
Yeah, that's right. Starling, take a shot. It's going to
Um,
be, with the blunderbuss, it's going to be a trivial test.
Right. Martial range is going to be 55. I'm at ignore one skill rank, so it's not. It's 45. Right. Let's do this. Yes, those dice go together. That's a 5. Oh my
Nice.
gosh. Zeros. I'm keeping these dice forever.
Blam!
That's so
She fires a
Blam.
blunderbuss.
and that is a
Oh no.
3 plus 5, so 8.
Packed with boot nails and dirt, it does nothing but
nails
simply
and
send out a blast, a gout of dirt and dust and broken nails and rock as it
We are
remains.
dulling all of my senses: eyes and ears, mouth and nose next.
The unfortunate part is that right as we got to this point, our game must come to a close. As much as I wish we had time to do this, we are at time. We need to respect the time for our Gen Con streamers. Maybe, just maybe at some point, we can maybe do this another time. We can continue what happens and see what occurs.